Okay. So, have you gone to the site, even though we don't have that complete information yet from Sir Gerry? Okay, so that's good, no? One good sign of a good designer, if you're excited with the project, you go to the site right away because you just want to imagine how you're going to design it. Although right now we have a very particular parameter that it has to be brutalist. Like I said, to give you a background, uh, Locsin was mentioned to me by Sir Gerry Torres a long time ago if we can collaborate, but normally I wouldn't say yes because of my schedule and also without knowing my future class yet. And if you're familiar with my previous studio, I would handle their studio classes from design one until certain design level. That way I would be confident in their capability. With the short time that we had an interface, somehow I think I get a little grasp of what you guys can do, and somehow I think I have a feeling that you guys can deliver. So, what are your expectations regarding um the task at hand? Luis Pitoy.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, what are your expectations regarding the task?
Um, for me, sir, I think like it would be challenging for us since we haven't really tackled that typology of schools or an educational institution, or at least for me.
Can you speak louder?
And
It's a bit soft eh.
okay, sir. Um, and also, tackling brutalist architecture is a real challenge since we've been actually on the creative side of design and more on exploration. So being uh, challenged with the brutalist parameters is going to be fun and also a good experience for us. Yun lang,
Okay,
sir.
sige. Hold on lang. I just need to do something. Okay. It's good that you mentioned it's challenging. My follow-up question was, is the challenging something negative or positive? It's good that you mentioned it's going to be fun. And that's the attitude that we want to hear because it's something that very uh rare that we hear from students that that they're having fun with their work when it's supposed to be something that they should enjoy. You have to remember the moment that you become architects, you will have a lot of challenges. You will have a lot of um how would I say not necessarily challenges, but more of stress related um task that will enable you to practice because in in the practice it's not just about being creative, etc. We have to face some necessary tasks to make it happen, such as paperworks, such as tax compliance, uh building permit applications. For example, I have one project now. When wherein my client expected it to be done in 6 months after meeting them, but it's already been a year because number one, the design process takes long. Number two, even if the process is is expedited, you have to deal with your consultants who might delay the project as well because they also need time to do their process. And on top of that, you also need to take time to look for the right contractor. You cannot just entrust your design to someone you don't you're not familiar with in terms of experience, in terms of portfolio. Kasi ang contractors, they need to have a portfolio as well. And And on top of it is that the building permit application process can also take long. That's why it's also been a year. Sometimes it can also take a year before a project become before it starts construction. So all the things that you are learning in school, including the paperwork, including the process, including the stress, including me bickering, including you guys bickering with each other, especially with your teammates. Also me stressing you out. This is all part of the learning process, including the physical modeling, even though you may not use it, but it's good that you are undergoing through that process because it teaches you something that a normal practice would. And just for everyone's information, I just want to to somehow clarify some some if you guys are wondering why we are aiming for the stars, because the moment you practice, everything will be limited by the factors that I mentioned earlier. Paperwork, building permit, etc. Not to mention the budget of the client, etc. Those are unending parameters that you will have to deal with. So you guys are I mean, you may not feel it right now because you're still, I mean, I treat you like a kid, no? You're still young and you're still in school and you don't know the realities of the practice yet of being an adult. Um, but the moment you become architects, you will look back to your college years and you will miss this process, even though it was stressful, because this is the time that you can be very, very creative with your designs, with limited parameters. And mind you, the things that I'm giving you, the challenges that I'm giving you are still limited. The more when you become licensed, it will become more challenging. So now, going back to our project, Locsin, he's our national artist. Even when I was studying, he's like, of course, you research for international architects that you look up to, but it's also a trigger for you to research who's actually excelling locally. And of course, your parents would know who the local practitioners are because of their famous projects, etc., that became landmarks in the Philippines. And in my case, uh, I'm familiar with the CCP, I'm familiar with the PICC, etc. And my parents are familiar with it. That's why they mention it. I don't know if that's the same case with you guys, but I entrust that you know Leandro Locsin. Sir Gerry promised that there will be two books by the LRC, by two books that's being ordered by the LRC that will arrive next week. He ordered it specifically for our project on Locsin, but let's not wait for that. If you can get research materials by initiating initial research by going to libraries, not just in LRC and elsewhere. When we were studying, I'm from UST. I would go to UP just to um, check out their library if there's something useful, something that we don't have in UST. We also have the Center Library because aside from, I know we didn't have a local library pala. So we have a Center Library in UST. That's why we have a big collection as well. But we didn't have a local library in our architecture department. In our case, we have the SED-LRC, and that's like the Center Library of SED alone. And yeah, I would encourage you guys to research because we don't know when that those books will arrive. But generally, ideas on brutalism are available online everywhere. But if there's something that you can find out about the process of Locsin when it comes to designing brutalist structures, that would be good. Uh, if not, it's also okay. But I want you guys to make your proposals more uh, substantial, more in depth, more of a take-off point from Luxin's designs. Because it's easy to, concoct forms and then just make it concrete and then, you know, and conclude the day, and that's it. It's brutalist. Like I said, we want to make this term an exploration of brutalism by exploring plasticity, by incorporating some innovations such as vegetation, etc. So and when it comes to the program, and I think I know Luis mentioned earlier that it will be challenging, but somehow it's also beneficial for you guys because you are the end users. If you remember in my requirements, one of them is a wish list, or yeah, a wish list of what you want to have in an architecture program. Since you guys are already in design 7, so somehow you're halfway through, and somehow you've seen the problems, and any architecture program for that matter, wherever you are in the world, will not be perfect. Kahit naka-SciArc ka pa, or even if it's Pratt Institute, it will not be perfect. They may be ideal in a sense that we want to be progressive, etc., but it will not be always perfect. In fact, Joshua, I think, has a batchmate who's who transferred to SciArc. Maybe Joshua, you can ask her if she can give inputs. I don't know if you guys hang out with Sila Kevin when she was here, but Kevin mentioned some stuff that um, they mention that they have in SciArc, and the culture that they have, and the space that they have. I think it's very particular. I think it's very important that you guys think of the facilities, and what we can improve on, etc. Okay. So for now, I want you guys to see what you guys been exploring in terms of idea, and then later on, just remind me, just in case I forget, because Luis also mentioned exploration. I want to clarify some things about that, but maybe that's after the company presentation. Okay. So let's start with the individual present. No, let's start with the class presentation of um, the the collaborative deliverables. Who's going to present that? Sige, Jara, go ahead. Jara will be our class head for the term.
Sir, hindi po ako makapag-share screen.
Okay. Who's going to share the screen?
No, like, hindi po ma-share screen. Naka-disable po.
Okay. Kala ko ano. Ako pala may kasalanan. Sige, go ahead. Okay. Can you make it full screen? Yan.
So, hello everyone. Good afternoon, sir. For this week's deliverables, we will be presenting all of the data that we have gathered collectively, namely the architectural programs and space requirements, Benil architecture student population, organizational chart of the Archi program of Benil, the flowchart, and site analysis.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. So we have here the architectural program and space requirements. Now, in doing this process, what we did is we followed our intuition, like in a way, kung ano ba yung gusto namin as an architecture student, ano yung gusto namin sa isang architecture school. And then we also checked what we have in SDA. So one example here is we have classrooms, lecture halls with proper anthropometrics kasi syempre it's beneficial to have proper anthropometrics kapag nag-sketch ka po or like when you're just using your laptops. And then here we have a computer laboratory. I mean, obviously, we also have this sa 14th floor. Ginagamit natin to sa ARCAD when using Revit and all. Next slide, please. So here, we have a printing studio. I think we also have a printing studio in SDA po, di ba? And a library, a design studio, a gallery forum, which is actually nice when pag gusto mong makita yung designs ng ibang students and you get to have an inspiration from those designs. And here we have a co-working space. Now, yung generator natin, and we have auditorium, locker area, discussion rooms, cafeteria. So basically, what we also realize here is SDA, meron lahat ng SDA na provide ng SDA yung needs ng mga architecture students po namin. So it's actually a great thing. Next slide.
So for the population of Benil architecture student, the student population has grown immensely from 33 students in the batch of 2009 to 2010 to its current number of 908 sa current academic year. The Benildian architecture program graduates that are in practice stands at 795 alumni professionals contributing to the practice of architecture as employees for local and international firms, or even as a solo practitioners contributing to nation building. So as you can see here, as of 2023, meron pang 114, and the largest population is the ID 122.
Wait, can I'm trying to understand the flow, this data. It's all 2023, it's all term 2.
Yan po yung latest na nakuha namin. We thought kunin na yung pinaka-latest na info na meron po ngayon.
Yeah,
Hello,
but
sir.
can you explain this? Because it's all academic year, it's all term 2. Batch, wait, so batch 1, I thought it's the number of students, sorry. And then the count, okay, great, okay. Do you have the total? Where's the total?
We don't have that. Wait lang po.
Siyempre total nyo kasi.
Sir, the total po, nakalagay na po dun. Yung current number, which is 908 students. As of
908.
2022. Opo.
Okay. Can you work up in your mind how we fit everyone in 7th floor and the Archie Hall? Can you imagine it? No.
Yes.
Especially. Anyway, sige, let's talk about it later. Yeah, in a way, it's kind of nice because you're designing for yourselves, guys. You are the stakeholders, but we need to get the right data. And yeah, well, sige, go ahead. Sorry.
So, nakakuha rin po kami ng information dun sa yung mga people behind the architecture program. So, yung nilagay na lang namin dito is yung dean, chairperson, jackheads, and academic advisors.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, from our understanding, yung flowchart po, ginawa namin sa ID 122 kasi dalawang batch po yata yung similar, 121 and 122.
Okay.
Sa 123 po, meron ato nagbago doon. Pero, verify na lang po namin. Meron po kami nung info.
Okay.
For the site analysis.
So this is the site analysis. So this represents the direction of the sun and wind path. So as you can see, there are orange circles, essentially represents the sun's path, with June being the highest and December being the lowest. Next slide.
Yun.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
So for the vehicular and pedestrian circulation, so basically the idea here is that what are the most accessible points for the site. So for the vehicles, there are actually access points not only for the pedestrians alongside Pio Campos Street, Aureliano Avenue, Estrada Street, Consuelo Street, and then Bautista Street. For the vehicles naman po, the reason why they're not highlighted po, because based dun pa sa mga site visits na na-conduct ko po, and also I checked yung surrounding areas, sobrang sikip po siya, and parang hindi po, parang it's almost private na rin po yung treatment po ng mga ibang streets po. So these highlighted ones are the most optimal point, the most accessible parts when it comes to accessing the site itself. And sige, let's go to the next one.
So for the mode of transportation po, yung nearby transportation is the LRT at Vito Cruz Station tsaka yung PNR din po. So if you're in that area po, you can may mga options which is mag-tricycle sa mga informal tricycle terminals near U-Mall in front of Binil and near Jollibee Ocampo Street. And there are jeepney routes from Taft Avenue, Estrada to Arellano, Zobel, Rojas to Paco. Additionally, there is an Egypt circulating around the campuses of Binil. But to reach the Hi-Fi building, the Egypt can only drop off passengers at the covered court, requiring them to cross the road to reach the building. Kasi ano po, yung sa road sa may Hi-Fi po is one way. Next, please.
So another mapping analysis we did was about landmarks around the site. So during this analysis, we learned more about where people are attracted more, and also learned about the culture and connections in the area.
So, ito po yung mga condominiums and dormitories around the site. So, yung pinaka common po na pinag-stayan ng mga students is yung malapit po sa train station, which is yung Vista Residence and yung Torre Lorenzo, ganun po.
So here is the views of the site. We identified all the views around the building, and upon analyzing, the only positive view would be the rear side since there are vegetations there. The view on the front side of the building is considered undesirable since there are a lot of entangled electrical wiring.
Next, we now proceed on the analysis of noise, which would be a condition that we must look over. And one of them would be coming from the train station, specifically the LRT station of Vito Cruz and the PNR station, which could be a distraction when doing our design process of designing the architectural school. And other areas would also be on the intersections, which would create more negative noise, also disrupting the proper design process.
So we also created a flood hazard map so we can understand the topography of the site and the nearby areas. And as you can see dun sa location ng site, mababa yata yung lupa dun, or like bahain siya. So we can also design against that.
For the heights of the buildings surrounding the site, the majority are mid-rise to low-rise structures. These buildings often range from 3 to 10 stories tall, with some exceptions of taller buildings, particularly along major roads.
That's all po, sir.
Okay. I love how coordinated your presentation is, and I think these are all collective effort. There's something that you missed out on. Can you, at least, I'll give you 1 minute to think about it. What
Sir,
do you
yung
think?
ulit?
There's a analysis that you miss out on. There's one analysis that is very relevant with you guys. Not necessarily the general site analysis information that you would expect.
Sir, is it yung bilihan ng materials, printing areas, ganun po ba?
Actually, that's a good idea. That can be an addition. Yeah, Thomas. Kanya ko.
Demographics po ba? Or not
What?
naman needed?
No, not really. Not that relevant for our project, although it's needed for other projects. And one thing about site analysis, guys, although we train you guys to gather this information, but make sure that eventually you'll be able to make use of the site analysis. It will be impressive if you can relate site analysis with a design solution. So the one thing that you guys miss out on are mapping the LaSalle buildings and how connected or disconnected they are. Do you get it? For instance, we still work with the main building, right? So when you need something, like the professor still has to go to the main building to get our IDs, some paperworks, etc. I don't know with the students. I think there's a satellite in SED campus, but it's a it's in a given time frame. Um, so it's something that is you need to work on, because these spot projects, if you notice, we have hi-fi, and then we have a building. I forgot the name of the building, which is just near hi-fi. What's Atrium? It's called Atrium, tama?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yun, Atrium, and then you have the Hotel Benilde or Maison. I don't know the name of the building. And then you have the CSB main Taft campus. And there's a trivia that I want to share with you. I think Joshua knows this already, because I mentioned before. LaSalle can easily purchase a property elsewhere. UST has a property outside Manila, and you know that there are some institutions, famous institutions that are located outside Manila, so it's more convenient and decongested. But LaSalle wants to stay in Manila. You know why? You know why, guys? It's not just about being inclusive, but they want their students to be more aware of the situation. They want their students to be um, conscious of the surroundings, of what uh, what the general population is like. We have poverty, we have people struggling to make ends meet, and we have a very chaotic city. And we want you guys to be participatory in terms of making solutions and making the city better and improve the situations and conditions. May not directly affect the individual Filipinos economically directly, but somehow contributing uh, to the society in terms of your profession and expertise. So I want you guys to add, maybe later on next week, just add that mapping of the LaSalle institutions around the area. That's why you have very sporadic locations of properties. If LaSalle could or Benilde, LaSalle, let's just call it LaSalle, could purchase a lot of properties in the area if it's available, it would, no? In fact, if I'm not actually sure, but UPAD, I think they were bidding, they were trying to buy that property so that SED is bigger, but UPAD, I think the lot owners of UPAD increase the um what they call that, the land value. So you are in Manila, the land value is expected to be high. That's why we also need to build high. Um, yeah, can we go to the photos? Let me just somehow suggest no, the photos, site analysis photos. Photos, guys. Views. Yeah, okay. There's a better way to do this, no? I'll teach you. Um, for example, this is you create a triangle, it means that this is you and this is the view. Okay, and then you put a number. You can put the number here or you can put the number there. But these is stylized if you want. You can be solid, that's white yung number, etc. And then you put the views here. They get it that way. You can have bigger images, and that way there's some sort of orientation when you're viewing the site. You can also have a viewing viewing out from the site, so you can see the street, etc. So in a way, somehow, even this is just a 2D presentation, somehow it's experiential, even though it's not a video. Do you get it, guys? Okay. So try to make that presentation more helpful for the viewers, because right now this is not very intuitive yet. Okay. I have an idea because I'm very familiar with the site, no? Also add building massing. Although, yeah, maybe we can do that next week. Add that building massing requirement, so that you guys can already work with the massing of the environment. You can respond to it, etc. Wait lang, ah. How do I exit the annotation? Ay, na-exit na pala. Oh wait, sorry. Okay, clear. How do you ayun. Okay. All right. Sige. What else? Although you had building heights earlier, um, in order for you to have a more detailed building massing data, what I do, for instance, I have a project, even if it's just residential, I would guesstimate. I would ask someone to stand by the door of the neighboring house, a neighboring building, and then I would get the exact height of that person, and then I would guesstimate it. You can do that also by taking a photo, putting a person as a reference point, and then ideal, especially we will be neighboring with hi-fi. Try to copy the massing of hi-fi. It's very important, guys, that you are responding to it, not just on a horizontal level, but also in a massing level. In terms of program, let's see and investigate. I want you guys to visit hi-fi as well. It's a very interesting building. And and then I think there's a heritage building called Becky's Kitchen. I don't know if it's right beside the property. Is it right beside the property? Yes or no?
Yes, yung site po, yes.
Oh, as in katabing-katabi?
Opo, ng hi-fi.
Okay,
Yung parking po yan, pagkakaintindi ko.
okay. The parking and Becky's Kitchen, is there a building in between?
Saan po, sir?
Di ba you have, although I don't really remember. I know hi-fi, and then there's a parking space beside it, right? And then Becca's Kitchen is at the corner of a street, right?
Yes, sir. There's a building between them po.
There's a building. Sayang, no? It would be more interesting if it's just right beside it. Uh, is the building historical beside it? Or it's just typical,
Medyo abandoned na siya, sir.
medyo abandoned na. Sige. Let's explore. Sige, don't think about that first. Let's focus first on lot 8. There's a reason why we're just limited with lot 8, because most likely it's owned by Salle already. So we have to work with it. It's just that it's so nice to respond to historical buildings. And then you also have a very interesting modern building by Sir E.J. Javier. So it will be, a nice tension between the two, although we already set the parameter on the design language, which is very brutalist, etc. So yeah. So before anything else, let's go to in terms of radius.
It's 400 meters po.
This one, okay. Uh, when it comes to the massing of the urban context, I want you guys to include all the LaSalle buildings. And then normally we work with the radius. I don't know. I understand this is not the center of, this won't be the center. Normally, kasi di ba, we have a radius of the massing. Uh, hmm. Maybe up to Hotel Benilde and STA, so that that's more relevant, no? And main building. So basta include the Hotel Benilde, the atrium, hi-fi, and main building of CSB and SED. So those areas. Also, the Becca's Kitchen thing. If you can include it in the digital drawing, some massing of these important buildings, it will be good. And the rest are just boxes with the general height. Okay, so that will be a collective effort. Okay, guys? So that you don't waste time. So let's share resources. Okay, any questions regarding that, guys? As an addition to the site information that we have.
Sir, do we need po ba yung ano yung sa historical mapping po? Kasi meron po kaming may pinagawa po sa amin yung prof namin sa Archer, same po.
Oh, very good. You make use of that. Actually, ang ideal natin, guys, kung may mga related information that you did with our search planning, make use of those. In fact, do you have access to the thesis library?
Yes, ata, sir.
Okay. Again, go on a trip to the LRC because there were two former students that did an architecture school. Their names are Angel Manarang and Alejandro Blanca Flor. Okay, so I'm gonna type in the name later in our GC so that you can look for them. Somehow the data that they have, I think Alejandro Blanca Flor focus more on the laser and 3D printing capabilities, etc. And Angel focus more on the inclusivity aspect. But I think the building of Angel is bigger, I think. So I think she's also using the same site, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see. What else? So that will be helpful because they have data there, information that you guys can study and beneficial for the project. Okay, so that way your proposals will be more enriched and substantiated. Okay, sige. Let's go to the individual exploration. When I say exploration, not design exploration, but exploration of your excitement to do this project. Okay, so can we do alphabetical? Because we've done the reverse, diba? So I don't know how else we can rearrange the order of presentation. Jara, that means you, and your and Ching as well. Okay. Okay.
Hello po, sir. Kita na po ba?
Yeah.
So for our case study and form finding,
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. So for our case study po, Jara and I chose the Yale University's Rudolph Building, located in New Haven, Connecticut, USA. Actually po, the reason why we chose this building as our case study kasi po it's somehow similar and close to our project kasi the architect Paul Marvin Rudolph designed the building to be a brutalist building eh. So So we think it's quite fitting lang naman na ito yung case study po namin. And of course, itong building na to, it has concrete surfaces, glass elements, and there was an article po about this building na kapag pumasok ka po, there's two massive columns and parang somehow po ang feeling po doon, parang siyang fortress turrets daw po eh. And what's great about this kasi yung natural lighting po, na-consider po talaga dito is yung natural lighting. So ang ginamit po dito, ang rooms po na may entry ng natural lighting, ang sabi daw po doon is gumamit po sila ng carpet, bright carpet kasi nagba-bounce daw po yung colors doon. And for the furnitures, they used contrasting colors to balance kasi of course it's concrete so it's cool and somehow sabi nila it's soulless eh. So may balance po ng warm and cool vibe. Next slide please. And also what's great about this building kasi architect Paul Rudolph, one of his process kasi, meron siyang phrase po doon na the building as a teacher. What he meant here is he wants to make this building parang a building that caters to the students. It should have the spaces, the functions that an architecture student needs. Kasi po back then, there are buildings, there are schools for engineering, for architecture students, pero hindi raw appropriate for them. So what Paul Rudolph wants is a building with functions or spaces na specific to art students and architecture students. Like for example po here, we can see the floor plan. Ito po yung first floor plan kasi in 1963 and in 2008 na-renovate po yung building eh. Although same concept, same plan pa rin. Pero as you can see here po sa babang part po, sa sub-basement and sa basement, and doon yung graphic design, the printmaking, the auditorium, the sculptures. Nandyan po sila kasi ang sabi ni Paul Rudolph, ito yung mga functions, mga classes that do not really need natural lighting. Like for example po yung auditorium, hindi naman kailangan ng natural light for auditorium eh. So yun po yung idea niya for this building. And here is the section. Picture po ng section. Ang 4th and 5th floor po ang architecture. According po sa Dean ng Yale way back in 2014, Paul Rudolph was biased with the architecture students kasi ang 4th and 5th floor po medyo high ceiling eh. So maganda po yung entry ng natural light. Next slide please.
Yun.
So for the sub-basement po, magpapakita lang po ako ng dalawang floor plans with placemaking. Kasi what we also observed is yung circulation po, itong circulation, the blue, turquoise, the blue one, dumadaan po siya sa lahat ng areas, whether it's public or semi-public, private or semi-private. So it has really good planning, napag-isipan po talaga siya. Ito pong purple, the number 4, medyo maliit ata yung font, I'm sorry. That's the mechanical, that's also part of the sub-basement. So hindi kailangan ng natural light entry doon. So nasa basement po siya. So napag-isipan po yung plan niya. And here's the second floor. It has the same idea. Yung circulation po, yung hallway, dadaan po sa lahat ng entries, whether it's public, it's semi-public, or private. Next slide. And also what we noticed here po kasi, yung functions niya, nung functions itong Rudolph building na to, it's quite similar sa SDA. Like meron silang printing room, meron silang studio room. Although, ang difference po dito kasi is sa... next slide ulit tayo, Zara. Sorry. Here po, yung ground floor po nasa library. Now, the reason why yung library po nasa ground floor, para daw po maganda po yung pasok ng ilaw. And merong history si Rudolph with art historian. So, malaki po yung space ng library sa ground floor. And next slide tayo. So yan, mayroong classrooms, mayroong offices, and what we also realized in doing this case study is marami po kaming kailangan i-consider, lalo na po sa architecture, sa project namin. Like, yung dean's office, the electrical, the mechanical, offices ng faculty, ng IT department. So, kasi makaka-apekto po yun sa form finding and space programming po namin. And Rudolph Building po has terraces. Now, itong terraces na to, hindi lang siya basta terraces. Ang sabi po dito, nilagay po yung terraces kung nasaan ng art studio para po yung students pwedeng mag-sketch sa terraces. Similar po sa ginagawa natin sa ARVCOM pag face-to-face dati. Next slide. Yan, and we have here the reception, may lounge. Marami po silang lounge areas for the students and for the teachers. Next slide. And for the 8th floor po, ang 8th floor po is a penthouse. It's a penthouse apartment for guest critics na magkikritik po sa works ng mga students nila. Yung elevator po hindi na po umaabot sa penthouse. So magsi-stairs na lang po sila, and it has a terrace. And then may mga mechanical rooms din po sa taas. Next slide, please.
So for the recap of the site, ito po yung site natin. Ito yung form na nabuo namin through the process of form finding based din sa tinakal lang ni Ching ngayon, just now. So, since dun nga, yung key takeaway namin dun sa case study is basically yung yung function, yung form niya, and yung layout, yung tawag dito, space assignments nga, parang naka-base din sa pangangailangan ng space na yun. Like, kunwari, as he mentioned, yung auditorium, di naman niya kailangan ng light masyado. So, ayun. Kinonsider namin na yung mga part na yun since meron naman na initial list of space requirements. And also, yun nga, para yung form ng building, parang nagpa-follow dun sa function ng nasa loob. So, started with the site extrusion. Yan po. And then, nag-subtraction for massive facade, imposing scale and monumentality since we're going for brutalist architecture, or like brutalism po yung gusto natin. And this is also to make space for the driveway and create grand entrance. Parang sa SDA po actually, medyo dun po siya inspired. Kasi actually, parang maganda naman na po yung style na. But syempre, iibahin namin. So, and then, solar carving, where the form is sculpted based on the specific solar path. And the solar path na pinili ko is at 10 a.m. ng June 21, which is the summer solstice. Which from what I remember, yun po yung pinakamainit na araw. Pinakamahabang araw pala. Sorry. So yun. Beveled the edge as well at itong part na to, para maka-receive siya ng sunlight. Medyo na-imagine ko na po kasi yung itsura ng building and kung paano namin i-organize yung spaces sa loob. And inisip po namin din na, hindi ko po na-mention kanina, na yung mga space requirements for architecture program, dinagdagan pa namin siya. Hindi lang nalagay sa slide kasi hindi na kami umabot. Pero ginroup namin siya according sa mga similarities ng pangangailangan nila sa building. So, yung mention ni Ching kanina dun sa floor plan ng Yale Architecture School, na sama-sama yung mga spaces na hindi kailangan ng natural lighting, or like mas okay if artificial lighting ginagamit dun sa basement part, which is yung mga mechanical, mga auditorium, yung drafting rooms, ganon. So, yung mga classrooms, yung mga design studios, nandun sa mga area na may mga enough lighting. And then yung mga maliwanag na area usually are yung communal spaces. And yun nga, like yung library, mga co-working spaces, lounges, mga ganon po. So, yun. And ito yung itsura ng solar carving ko, paano siya ginawa. So, basically, ito yung basis ko po. And then, sa harap din ginawa ko rin yun para magkaroon ng parang, kasi yung light, hindi lang siya parang source, parang for lighting lang. It's also, it can also be used for emphasizing the shape of the building. So, kinokontrol namin dito yung light para ma-emphasize yung part ng building to sa shade. Itong part na to. Para maano yung pagka-massive niya. And then, dito sa gilid, parang gumawa kami ng parang pag-bevel, like yung pag ganun. Kasi, para hindi direct yung sunlight. Or like para mabawasan yung light na mag-hit dun sa loob on a certain angle ng sun. Itong angle na to is 1 p.m. which is yung usually peak na pinakamainit yung araw. So, ayun. Tapos, itong area na to, inisip namin ni Ching, nandito yung design studios. Para pare-pareho din yung yung experience ng classrooms. Unlike, yun kasi yung thing din sa SDA ngayon. Parang iba-iba kasi yung itsura ng classroom. So, iba-iba yung yung experience ng students pag nagte-take ng class dun sa classrooms na yon. So, gusto namin parang as much as possible, pare-pareho sila. Ayun po. Then, in-offset namin yung buong side para magkaroon ng parang setback dito kasi dikit na dikit siya dun sa next structure. Ina-assume na rin namin na magkakaroon ng parang development at some point sa site sa paligid. Like, kunwari, itong site na to and yung nasa likod. And as if you will notice, merong pader dito kasi ginawa na lang namin firewall tong buong ito. In case na magkaroon ng high-rise sa likod, like assumption lang. So, so nagbutas din kami dito kasi puro natural lighting. Pero yung airflow sa loob, baka hindi na siya comfortable. So like, gumawa kami ng way para magkaroon ng airflow sa loob or ventilation. So, ini-imagine namin is butas to and here. Tapos ito skylight to. Para merong natural lighting na papasok din sa gitna. Tapos, sa facade, ito kasi yung driveway eh. So, ito yung facade. Gumawa kami ng entrance pala, sorry. Yung entrance. Ginawa namin siyang ganyan shape para may isang buong concrete shape na papasukan ng tao. Tapos kasi siya, ganun yung, parang for the sense of scale na may malaking may malaking concrete sa paligid mo pagpasok, parang pumapasok sa another dimension. Yun kasi yung na-aral din namin ni Ching yung pagkakaintindi namin rather nung binasa namin yung kay Locsin dun sa part ng sa CCP. And then lastly, kinerve namin siya. May nabasa rin po ako dun sa CCP kung ba't meron parang pa-curve dun sa yung sa gilid niya. It's actually, yung column, kung ba't siya pa-curve, it's golden ratio pala. Based on the golden ratio. And para magmukhang light yung structure even though na merong isang, ay magmukhang, yun na po. So, ito yung itsura ng site ng building so far. Para mas makita lang yung yung shape niya, kung paano nabuo yung form. Ayun lang po.
Okay, can we go to the form finding process? Okay, I always say to my student that they should not fall in love with the first design scheme, no? And it's good that Jara mentioned that we will still change it. That's why I mentioned bawi agad, no? So, but the purpose of this exercise for me to learn how you guys design because this is my first time to interface with this batch, with you guys, except for some students. And I want to learn how you guys incorporate ideas into form finding, which is not bad because everything is rationalized. But I want our studio to push it further, no? Because the sun carving is basic, at least for my for my level. And then what else did you have? The assumption, no, of the brutalist idea, the referencing of the SDAB. I actually like it, but later on you will realize that it might not be applicable for the side, Jara and Ching, because of the size. SDA was able to do it because we have a we have a very wide frontage, and it might not happen here, no? So you can look at hi-fi as an example. You can use it as a case study, maybe not necessarily as an architectural building, but still a really a design relevant building, and how the designer omitted the drop off. I'm not sure. What I remember of hi-fi is that it's a very pedestrian um kind of experience. You don't have a drop off, you just get dropped off in front. Is that correct? Tama ba yung ano ko? Naalala ko?
Tama po, sir. Actually, kinonsider ko din po yun eh. Kaso, pero mas gusto ko rin po na wala yun actually kasi medyo malit nga talaga yung site.
Ayun. And then I think hi-fi was successfully addressing its objective because it's meant for inclusion, no? Inclusivity. That's why they highlighted the pedestrian aspect of it. And whilst it's good for that building, I honestly think, just like the belief in sustainability and green technologies, it's not a design agenda anymore. It should be the norm already. So being more pedestrian friendly, human centric, etc. If you can add pa animal centric better, it should be the norm already, because we live in a time wherein I don't want to say woke because I hate that word, but we are more aware and conscious. Okay, so when it comes to the form, I think I don't want you guys to have an impression that we are focusing on form. I want you guys to balance the two. You guys are still in a very academic setting. You guys are learning. It's good that you are exploring this, but I want you guys to cross-check it later on with wait lang, let me just I'm low pad. Cross-check it later on with the program. So for next week, since you guys you need to include the space requirements later on. No? By the way, for the information of everyone, one of the weeks, maybe 2 or 3, Sir Gerry will be our guest critic. Okay, ideally on a face-to-face situation. So I'll try to invite him next week. He might also have a lecture, being the proponent of the exhibition, on Locsin. Okay, so make sure that you are present during that time. Hopefully, I'll be able to pull him next week. That's why our deliverables should be worth his time visiting for next week. So aside from the added site analysis, we can keep the site analysis. I like the graphic presentation, how serious they are, and but add those information that we need, no, so that we can get it done and over with. When it comes going back to your proposal, Ching and Jara, you're not in love with this proposal yet, right?
No, sir. Di pa
Okay.
naman.
But for the minimum expectation, I love that you guys have parameters. You don't just design based on a whim, no? So that is good. But later on, but for next week, I want you guys to create bubble diagrams for the levels. No, but the bubble diagrams, can you make it like the shape of the rooms already, based on the space requirements, so that somehow you have a grasp of what you need to design also. Okay?
Sige po, sir. Yung sa space requirement po, like, yung as accurate as possible na like use of space programming, ganun po.
Yes, yes. As accurate, even if it's an assumption at this point. Kasi I know that you're still gathering data, right?
Yes po.
Oh, yun. But for now, so that the process is ongoing, and this is something that I always teach my student. you cannot be too OC with the information. Oh, I have to delete it because I don't have the right information yet. No, you can't, because uh, you need to immerse in the process already. You need to already percolate ideas and be with the site. You need, like I said, one of the enemies of an architecture study is procrastination. And then and I have to tell you, like, you have other lifestyles, etc. You have to go to yoga, etc. You know, architecture school is a very jealous girlfriend or boyfriend. So you need to focus on this. That's why we're doing this, even though we have incomplete information. I want you guys to immerse in it. The keyword here is immerse. The more you immerse you are, the more invested you are, the more you know about the project by heart. Okay, so what else? Yeah, this is a question for everyone. Knowing what are your expectations when now that we are being engaged by Sir Gerry? What do you think are, or what are your expectations generally? I'm just curious. Do you know Sir Gerry somehow? Naging professor niyo ba siya?
By name, ako sir by name lang po.
By name lang. O wag naman yung ano, wag naman yung mga mahirap i-measure. Motivated is a bit vague, no? I understand what it is, but ano bang in-expect nyo? Kilala mo si Sir Gerry, Joshua?
Yes, sir, but hindi ko pa siya naging prof.
Okay. Pag naging prof niyo sa history, you guys are lucky. Okay? But in terms of the exhibition, ano in-expect nyo na gagawin nyo?
Parang as legit as possible na architecture school yung ina-expect na at least for us ni Ching. Ay, for sa amin ni Ching.
Of course, we want it to be as realistic as possible, but Sir Gerry always engages me because of the explorative aspect and quality of the designs. He gets excited when he's seeing exciting ideas. Joshua, yes?
Sir, for like the final output, it'll be presentation worthy, parang merong physical model, and then there's like a board that'll
Yeah.
be displayed to the 12th floor.
Yes.
So it has
be-
to be high quality.
Yes. Are you guys expecting that?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I think I wasn't able to reiterate this last Saturday, because it was a chat. But I created portfolio review because I want to inculcate with the students that this is the stage that you are creating a portfolio. Even when you're practicing, you are creating a portfolio, so that potential clients will trust you. In your case, your portfolio will be very usable when you apply for a job, when you apply for graduate school or scholarship, etc. So don't take for granted the projects that you did. So make sure that you document it. So what more if you are engaged by a professional entity such as the CCA or the Center for Campus Art to be in a formal exhibition such as Leandro Locsin's exhibition, associated with that exhibition. The Leandro Locsin office will be in the exhibition, their families might be in the exhibition, and some outsiders will be in the exhibition. You can even invite your parents into the exhibition so that you can make them proud that you did this and you're part of this worthwhile endeavor. And it will be good to put it in your resume the moment you apply for apprenticeship, for a job interview, more so graduate school abroad. That will be a very strong asset in your portfolio. So don't take this for granted. So I was excited for you guys. And Locsin being a highly regarded architect for me, I said yes to the endeavor, also because I see potential in what you presented to me. And I hope you guys will deliver. Okay, there's pressure, but it's time for you to step up so that you can deliver a professional quality work. Okay?
Okay po, sir. Noted po. Thank you, sir.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So Castro, Brian, are you around? Oh, since it has to be exhibit quality, it will be visited by outsiders, by architecture professionals, historians, etc., academics. It has to be professional quality, and your name will be on the exhibition. So I am going to connect you with the 3D printer later on for the final one. We are waiting for Sir Jerry's list of, kasi he's the curator, so he gets to say what we're going to deliver. Okay, go ahead, Castro and Bianca.
So good afternoon, sir. Our case study is about the architectural hall of the University of Washington College of Built Environments. Next slide, please.
It's located in Seattle, Washington, designed by Carl Gould. The original structure of this building was made in 1959. In 2017, Ottoman architects undertook a transformative renovation and addition project. For the design for urban context, located on the main campus of the University of Washington in Seattle, Architecture Hall is situated between a vibrant academic and cultural environment. The building's placement on campus facilitates easy access for students, faculty, and visitors with connections to other academic buildings, green spaces, and transportation hubs. For the design concepts for the renovation and addition project, they integrated the existing mid-century modern architecture hall with contemporary design elements, wanting to respect the building's historical significance, while also accommodating the evolving needs of the college. Next, transparency and connectivity. They prioritize visual connections, creating spaces that foster collaboration, interaction, and a sense of community among students, faculty, and staff. Lastly, sustainability and resilience was central to the design, incorporating sustainable design principles throughout the project, enhancing energy efficiency, indoor environmental quality, and resilience to climate change impacts. The original architecture hall was a prime example of mid-century modern design, featuring clean lines, glass facades, and flexible studio spaces with abundant natural light. In 2017, Element Architects added contemporary elements like a new entrance pavilion and updated facilities. They also introduced a central atrium for social gatherings and integrated technology for digital design tools and multimedia presentations. Additionally, sustainability was a priority with energy efficient design, a green roof, and carefully selected materials. For the ground floor, most of the studios and exhibitions could be found, allowing for easy access to showcase student work, faculty research, and other design projects to visitors. The machine groups in the ground floor also provide advantages for transporting materials and equipment in and out of the building. Since auditoriums and seminar rooms require a focused environment, these spaces were located on the upper floor, isolated from potential noise and distractions that may occur on the ground floor. And the office rooms are also placed on the first floor to enhance privacy as well. The second floor is mostly composed of studios. Bringing all the studios together on one upper floor helps architecture students collaborate,
building an atmosphere for learning.
Um, so for the form finding, pinili po namin yung case study sa um, in connection sa project natin since number one, limited po yung area ng architecture hall sa University of Washington. Then number two is nakahiwalay rin po siya sa other campuses. So yung lead niya sa pagiging independent na ma-provide yung needs and necessities ng mga architecture students, faculty, and staffs is makikita na sa campus. So, ito po yung final form na napunta namin. Next slide, please. So, nag-undergo po kami ng addition and subtraction method para sa aming form na para makapag-provide ng mga necessities ng isang architectural hall. Katulad ng
What happened?
sorry, so may nag-undergo po kami ng addition and subtraction method para sa form namin to provide yung mga necessities ng isang architectural hall. Katulad ng vertical integration na i-utilize namin yung vertical space efficiently to maximize the use of the lot area. Then we also incorporated modular design to employ principles to optimize spatial flexibility and adaptability. Then we also consider the natural light and ventilation to prioritize natural light and ventilation to create a comfortable and energy efficient indoor environment. And also nag-focus rin po kami sa community engagement to provide spaces for community gatherings, exhibitions, and workshops to promote dialogue and exchange between students, faculty, professionals, and the public. That's all.
Okay, right now, it's very difficult to understand the ideas because, this is a very exterior project, exterior presentation. And when you was talking about interaction, it's very hard to relate it with the forms that we are seeing. But hopefully, once we have the materials, you guys can have more conditions to use. You have more material to use to inspire the form of your building and really utilize the plasticity of concrete. Okay, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Bianca and Brian.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we go to Cosadio, Kate, and the group of Cosadio, Kate, and Krishna. Beginning to remember your faces. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Hello. Am I audible po ba?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So good afternoon for today. We will just be showing you progress namin for week 5. So next slide. Okay, next slide. Ayan. So for our case study naman, it is the Delft University of Technology, Architecture, and Built Environment na school, which is also known as the BKCT in Netherlands. So the school is placed second sa university rankings for architecture and built environment in 2020, while naging top 3 din naman siya in architectural school rankings. So next slide. So just to give a short background lang on the BKCT, the name means Bokunde, which both means various architectural activities and structures, while yung Kunde is more on craft, yung knowledge, and art. So originally, yung building was constructed sa northwest corner ng campus, then it was destroyed by a fire. Then it was decided then to move it to a historic building and transform the historic building into contemporary architectural education campus. So next slide. So upon examining yung mga BKCT plans and yung spaces, ito yung mga na-note namin na spaces that were found there. And then it consists of yung mga collaboration and interactive environment that enables yung flow of information and creativity between both students and faculty members.
So moving on to the floor plan of BKCT. So the open layout of BKCT emphasizes the connectivity and collaboration between different areas within the building. It fosters a sense of community and it allows fluid interaction between the faculty and the visitors. So for the main entrance, it is situated in the center. There are services such as bookstore and printing facilities that caters to the needs of the student and the facility to provide convenient access to essential resources and amenities. So next, there are halls within the BKCT, which serves as a space for collaboration and interaction among students, faculty, and visitors. So the two halls that are present are the Market Hall and the Orange Hall. So the Market Hall is more on for workshops and model making, while the Orange Halls are for general assemblies and for students and students and faculty to interact. So next is the activities found in Market Hall. So there is woodworking, model making, and collaborative activities. Next would be the lecture rooms. It is strategically located throughout BKCT it facilitates the academic instruction, while the library is positioned is situated in the first floor of the building. And it is convenient since malapit po siya it is located sa mga corridors. Next are the course departments. So within the BKCT, there are specific departments or academic units dedicated to different courses na inaano ng Delft University. So there is architectural engineering technology, management in built environment, urbanism, and architecture. So for the leisure and food facilities, these are spaces these spaces complement the academic environment, promoting interaction and collaboration among student and faculty while offering an opportunity for relaxation and socialization. So these are the three leisures. The bulk pub is for the faculty, while the kettle house and espresso bar are for both facility and students. So next are the corridors. Corridor serves as a horizontal circulation pathway within the BKCT, connecting different areas and rooms within each floors. There are display areas. There are display there are display spaces along the corridors that showcases the students' work, academic researches, and architectural exhibition, contributing to an overall atmosphere of collaboration and engagement within the building. So this corridor is called the Main Street. It is located in the center axis of the ground floor. It serves as a focal point of movement and interaction, enhancing the sense of community within the building. So the stairs are also situated adjacent to the corridors, facilitate to good circulation throughout the building. So the students and faculty perspective, their perspective is that the open layout of BK City offers opportunities for collaboration, exposure to exhibition and cognitive experiences. So the design fosters a sense of belonging and encourages active participation in academic and social activities, enriching the educational experience and promoting intellectual growth.
So from this case study, so how can the buildings inspire future designers? So this includes yung innovative use of space, promotion of cognitive experience, attention to circulation and movement, emphasis on openness and collaboration, the integration of leisure spaces, and yung sustainable design principles. So lahat ng to, this encourages a different notion of how certain spaces are usually used and more on ina-emphasize niya yung unique experiences ng users. So next slide. So similarly then from the case study, we thought of the important qualities of an architectural studio workplace. So ang inclusion nito is the inspiring design and environment, flexible na workspace, open layout, collaborative spaces, community hubs, and natural light, ventilation, at greeneries. So yung qualities na ito, enable naman niya yung much more interactive and I guess a better workflow rin of experience for the learning and for the learning ng mga students pati na rin sa studio culture.
So these are the wish list as our wish list. Again. So these are the wish lists that me and Krishna wanted po as an architectural student. So first po, we wanted services such as yung like na-mention po namin kanina sa case study, which is yung may mga services yung school, such as printing and material services. Printing facility, I'm not really sure po sir kung may printing na nagpe-print po sila ng mas bigger na mga drawings sa SDA. Kaya yun po yung nasabi po namin. And materials naman po for model making. And next po is a workspace specifically for us architecture students. Since wala pong masyadong spaces for architecture students to make our models, since sa library, bawal po gumawa ng mga models doon, napapagalitan po ng mga librarian. So parang nakakalat-kalat na lang po kami within the campus. Next po are laboratories laboratories such as woodworking, 3D modeling, tsaka yung mga construction materials po to further understand yung mga to further enhance our model making and yung knowledge po namin about construction materials.
Just to give a recap lang. So yung project is to create yung architectural school and the site is along Pio Capo Street, Malate. The total area is around 399.6 square meters. So for the concept naman, we integrated yung mga ideas na galing sa BKCT na case study. So our concept is more on openness, creating a collaborative and interactive na environment. So mainly, these main public spaces allow interaction and collaboration, which are the open halls, exhibit spaces, and leisure spaces. So ito yung mga i-consider namin for the project. So these spaces would be the main connection and yung flow throughout the building. So it creates an open and creative then stimulating environment. So this concept is also in line dun sa characteristics ng brutalism, which is mainly on functionality and straightforwardness when it comes to yung programs and yung circulation sa project. So next slide. So based on yung mga requirements sa architecture schools as well as yung other spaces then in line with our concept, pati na din yung mga wish list and other stuff. Ito yung mga programs that the project will accommodate and categorize siya based on users and yung activities. So next slide. So here is the bubble diagram naman of the programs we have provided. So it shows mainly yung connectivity ng different programs where the exhibit space, yung open halls, and leisure space, siya yung main connectivity and is adjacent to most areas or spaces sa project. So these spaces are also categorized on users and its relation sa pagiging public or private na realm.
So based on the bubble diagram, we used it to visualize the connection between different areas within our project. So we have strategically placed specific functions and spaces on each level to optimize functionality and enhance our user experience. And lastly po, sir, for our form finding. So basic lang po yung ginawa namin since nakulangan po kami sa time. So yung form finding po namin, start lang po from the setback, identification of public and private areas sa building po namin. So first po, we added a setback to the rear sa isang side po ng site and in front of the building. And the next po is it include the site extruding with the setbacks established. Once the setbacks are established po, there is a massing, ayun nga, extrude, in-extrude po namin yung mass para po magkaroon ng massing yung site. So next po, we divided it into the predetermined number of levels. In this case, ito po ay yung 8 floors. And finally, the identification of private and public areas within the 3D form was achieved through the spatial organization and zoning po. That is all po. Thank you.
Okay, except for the form finding, thank you for having a very comprehensive presentation. And somehow you have a grasp of the program already and how you're going to arrange it. But it's different the moment you have the numbers and the data that you need to meet, because we need to qualify if this will be enough. And it's not just enough that you are providing for the existing population, what is the projection later on. And can we go to the program, the bubble diagram? It's good that you have this, but I would advise that you have a site and then some portion of the site around it, and then you create the bubble diagram according to the site. So somehow the bubbles have an orientation already, and you can react to the conditions. Can we go to the section? I was supposed to record this for next week, but it's good that you have this. But you can still revise it the moment you have more information. The thing is you need to rearrange it for the better, etc. Although kanina the first group presented an auditorium at the basement level because it doesn't require a lot of natural light. That is true. But just an added information, guys. If you're familiar with cinemas, how we design our cinemas, And when you go to shopping malls, it's always located at the topmost floor. Why do you think it's located at the topmost floor? Anyone? Joshua?
Sir, for the columns,
Yeah,
for
because
like
of
the structural.
yeah, because of the structural. It's easier for them to compete for the structural because they don't have to compete for the live load above because it's the topmost floor. So they, they have the option to make the roofing lightweight. I'm not saying it's not possible as Paul Rudolph already demonstrated, but the structural will be bigger and not just talking about the columns, but also the beams, etc. And the clearances will have to be considered. So it's something that you need to also consider when you are locating the areas for your program. So, but I love the logic behind the spacing um, and the program. Okay, thank you guys, Kate and Krishna.
Thank you po,
Thank you din
sir.
po, sir.
Okay, Jumig and Del Prado.
Ay, sir. 13 female speed po.
Yeah, I'll make it full screen.
Sige po. Kita po.
Yeah.
Okay po.
Okay, so good afternoon, sir. We are going to present our massing iteration for a hub for play beyond concrete. So fresh brutalism and Leandro Locsin. Next slide. For our contents, we first have the research. So our case studies are what if women designed cities, and NUS School of Environment and Design, and lastly the concept. Next. So for our progress questions, here are the qualities of an architectural studio workplace. First, accessible materials library. Second, reduced noise. Third, natural and artificial lighting. And fourth, adequate spaces for model making and storage. Next slide. For our wish list as an architectural student, we want to have open spaces with vegetation because that is what is lacking in SDA building. It is most beneficial for architecture students since the presence of vegetation brings a sense of relaxation. Second, a VR room for virtual walkthroughs. This will help us visualize our projects and identify faults that we missed since we cannot personally experience a space. Third, more co-working spaces. So the generator is always full and it is hard to find a space to work collaboratively. And lastly, areas of refuge. Architecture is a very stressful course and it requires a lot of thinking and visualizing. Providing a quiet space for students to think can help with idea generation, decision making, creative thinking, and clarity. Next slide. So next is our research. For context, biophilic architecture is an approach that seeks to connect users more closely to nature. This approach benefits users by increasing productivity, improving health, reducing stress, and improving air quality. So in order to achieve a biophilic state, we need to include environmental features such as vegetation and water features. Next is utilize natural shapes and forms. Utilize restorative patterns. These respond to sensory systems. Next is provide natural light and space. Next is provide a place-based relationship. So this is spaces for reflection. And lastly, evolved human nature relationships. So these are areas of refuge.
So next, we actually proceed with one of the articles that helped us in our design process, which we will discuss shortly. So in this article entitled "What If Women Design Cities: A Voyage from Brutalism to Biophilia" by May East. Essentially, she described in the article on how functional city would be in the eyes of women, or how can we create cities to be more safe for these women. So in her article, she stated that one of these concepts would be one would be the infusion of biophilia to brutalism, and it is not just the aesthetic placement, rather the intelligent functionality of adding vegetation to these structures. Next would be how we could reconnect broken links. And this is reflected through how the outside structure and the interior structure has a seamless connection rather than the opposite of it. So in her article, she actually mentioned these interior spaces have areas for play, as well as uh, they become one and as a whole. That makes sense. And essentially, they should be seamless in the environment. And then other considerations that you mentioned would be one, how gardening for health and community uh, creates a safe aura. So this is reflected through a natural element such as pocket gardens, and others would be the last condition, which is the conditions of wildness returning, which is a very interesting consideration because it's how can we make our users come back to that idea, and this can be reflected through choice of vegetation that we use, the murals, and that's about the digest of the case study. And this brings us to our architecture school case study, which is the National University of Singapore School of Design and Environment. So, for context, this 1,500. This one is 850,000. This 8,500 square meter school, which is built in 2019 and designed by Siri Architects, Multiply Architects, and Surbana Jurong. Essentially, this structure was based on their intention of promoting design, sustainability, and education in Southeast Asia. And this six-story multidisciplinary space that was designed on a hillock along Clementi Road in Singapore. Essentially, what struck us in this case study is how they use the structure as a canvas for test bedding and developing relevant green technology and making the environment essentially a living laboratory wherein circulation of corridors and street light spaces are really taught all throughout. And what even struck me in the article is that buildings are not isolated entities in their own context. Rather, they form an environment, a precinct, or even a neighborhood, which is something that can be placed into the context of vinyl architecture. And as you can see in the sectional view of the structure, it is situated on an elevated lot. So here are the essential floor plans that I'll be presenting, which is from the structure. And one of the things that actually struck us during our research of this structure is how they are still connected to the main uh, school of National University of Singapore, and how they have uh, uh, separate areas that makes it that ensures that the student would have the needs in creating their own design, since as if they've stated, they wanted to make the environment as a living laboratory. So for as the run through of the second floor of the structure, they have the technicals like the Green Building Technologies Lab, the Assembly Workshop, the Modeling Workshop, JS Lab, the Greenery Lab, and also research rooms and workstations, as well as a area for students to read. So as we proceed now to the third floor, we also have the Model Smart Green Room, the Energy Lab and Cockpit, as well as research room and exhibition space for them to exhibit their um, small achievements, which is kind of similar to the 12th floor in SDA. And then for the fourth floor plan, they also have executive seminar rooms for presentations as well as a forum room. They also have a research center and a social plaza, which is located below, which provides as a space for interaction. And then for the fifth floor, you have the respective design rooms as well as the laboratories for 3D printing. And then, of course, for the sixth floor, they have a test bed area, and then the architecture year one studio, which actually made us interested would be the test bed area, because we feel like it is something that would be really helpful, especially for building science or building technology subjects. And it provides, as you've mentioned, architecture something immersive, and maybe through these spaces allows us to actually understand the concept more rather than seeing it as something theoretical. So with that in mind, we now proceed to the essential form finding concept. So for our first iteration of the concept, we started first with the extrusion of the essential mass lot of the structure. Then afterwards, we decided to divide these segments so that we have an essential picture of what can these eight segmented spaces be allocated for once we have the initial space requirement. And then for the fourth iteration, we started to play with the idea of uh, how can we go with the idea of how can we go with the idea of trying to add the vegetation without it being an afterthought, and we decided to put the push and pull concept as well as repetition to the structures. And then from the fifth iteration, we then softened the edges as to make it not seem intimidating and to the perspective of the outsider. And data suggests that the soft edges have a better condition and how we perceive a structure rather than sharp edges. And then for the sixth level, we decided to play with the last level, which is the um, inclusion of an open space wherein it can be something for like a social plaza for architecture students to actually make use of.
So this is our party for the second iteration. Upon learning about the wind pattern, we divided the lot diagonally to allow wind to pass through. Since the site is in between two buildings, wind won't be able to circulate within the building. We can also allow light to penetrate through the building by utilizing this approach. Also, instead of retaining the slanted form, we decided to extend each area in order to allow more space for the school. Next slide. So this is our massing iteration for the second one. First, we started with the size of the lot. Second, we divided the mass into two diagonally in order to allow the wind to pass through. Third, we divided the forms. Fourth, we extended the slanted form in order to form squares and rectangles. This allows us to have more space to work in. Fifth and sixth, we stacked the form 9 times, 8 stories for the building and then 1 for the elevation. We elevated the building in response to the medium flood level in the area. And lastly, we connected the 2 forms to make it into one and then pushed faces to provide shading and space for vegetation to grow. Next slide. So here are our initial ideas for the second iteration facade. We want to incorporate curvature in response to the architecture and play concept. Also, one of the principles of biophilic design is the use of natural shapes and forms. That's why the patterns used are some of the patterns seen on nature. These patterns will not only serve an aesthetic function, but also for shading and for spaces for vegetation. That's all.
Yeah, hold on now. Hold on lang. So, Del Prado, Rela Design Studio, no? Is that what they call yourselves?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, you have a good week today. So, right now I'm looking at an example of not an entirely complete innovation yet, but the potential of it, of the idea of incorporating the idea into something brutalist. No, so don't just use brutalist as a style because it's nice to look at. It's just a finish, etc. We need to address issues which I'm going to enumerate later on. So this is a good start, but like I said, don't fall in love. Don't fall in love with the scheme yet, and have room for adjustments. And I reckon you have 2 proposals. The one that Del Prado presented, tama ba? And this is different.
Yes po, sir. We do have 2 proposals.
And how, how do you make how do you synthesize these ideas?
Sir, like you've mentioned, these are just ideas that we've just iterated, and we're still planning to synthesize on the process.
Yeah, maybe this is a good general idea of the envelope. Can we go to your form finding, Robbie? Yeah, this doesn't express the plasticity of concrete yet, but when you made this, and then you were talking about issues and challenges of an architecture space, this is how I related to it, no? I hope everyone is listening. And I want you guys to have fun with plasticity because you have concrete as a material. Even Zaha did mention before that she's excited with the future of architecture. When she was still alive, and I saw her our interview that on the Fano Center in, if I'm not mistaken, in Germany, and she was talking about the potential of concrete and what else we can do about it, whether it's precast or cast in place. So you can do so many things. You need to think of it as a moldable material. So a moldable material that can actually express the ideas that you have for this space, the ideas that address the problems that you mentioned, which I like. I love the wish list that you provided. And then we're not necessarily copying the NUS, but at least put in what is applicable for us. Although this space might not be enough, because you mentioned of building an actual thing for building technology, etc., and that will require a lot of space. And I want you guys to be very specific of the things that you want to address. The more conditions that you have, because maybe you think of architecture school just series of classrooms. No, we have exhibition space, we have gathering space, we have uh, like the building tech thing. We have a 3D printing space, etc. How do you make this more an exciting destination for the architecture school? Do you get it, guys? So I want you guys to design it in a way that each area is an exciting moment for an architecture enthusiast. So you design this for yourselves to become, although sempre we won't realize this, you're designing this for yourselves in a speculative manner, but they're also designing it for architectural enthusiasts who are curious about the architecture building or curious about the architecture program, that each area is a destination. For example, I visit architecture school abroad, I see a series of classrooms. That's for me, it's banal already. I mean, it is needed, it's required, but um, but I would want to see the architecture hall, if they have architectural hall, the exhibition hall, the library, etc. And where they display their models, where they make their models, etc. For an architecture professor, an architecture enthusiast, or architecture tourist, or design enthusiast, these are things that you look forward to visiting an architecture building. And I want you guys to be constant, not just this group, but everyone. Okay? Do you have any questions, guys?
None for now, sir.
Thank you, guys. Good
Thank you po,
presentation.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, who's next? Joshua Hermosa. And Joshua Ran. Pareho pala kay Joshua, no? Ngayon ko lang na-realize. Okay, go ahead, guys.
Wait, no, sir.
Okay, so good day everyone. So this is our week 5 output for ArcDes 7. So again, I'm Joshua Hermosa and my partner is Joshua Rania. So before proceeding to the project, we did some initial research. So from the website of RIBA, according to them, brutalist architecture is the usage of rough surfaces, massive forms, unusual shapes, and expression of structure. So when all of these 4 elements are combined, then yun yung nagpapakita ng truly brutalist architecture. Next slide.
Okay, so we'll start with the case study, which is Gund Hall from the Graduate School of Design in Harvard. It is located in Cambridge, Boston. It is an educational building designed by John Andrews in 1972. To sum it up shortly, the idea of this whole building is to embody the idea of collaboration. We specifically chose this building because we kind of felt, or I kind of felt, that after the pandemic, a lot of the collaboration that used to happen in SDA was kind of missing, especially with half of the classes being online. It's harder to collaborate, express ideas, have that space where you can do it. So here's the exterior of the building real quick. It just so happened to be brutalist as well, but that isn't the reason why we chose this building. This is the south side, I mean east, south, west, and then I don't have a picture of the northern side. Here is the interior. You can see that there is a 41 meters open space of like just desk on desk on desk where a studio is. And in Harvard, apparently, students are given these spaces and you can get seated beside a 5th year or another year. And then it just fosters this culture of collaboration, or what they call studio culture. So we can start with the program. So this massive square here is the studio, and flanking it on both sides are terraces. And then this L-shaped block houses all of the administrative buildings, the classroom, and other things. And here is a party of how John Andrews envisioned it. He envisioned it first as flat, and then if it was vertical, and then he decided to basically make a terrace that would house all the studios, exposing it to natural light and simultaneously opening up the ground level for pedestrians. And here's the section. So here's the 41-meter span I was talking about. How do I annotate? Oops. So from here to here is 41 meters.
Do we have that?
And
Go ahead.
yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, it creates this really open, collaborative area for all the students to talk and mingle. I forgot to say this at the start, but John Andrews really believed in the idea of interdisciplinary collaboration, where he wanted to break down the physical barriers between all of these disciplines. So yeah, it's not, I think interdisciplinary is not enough to describe it. It's also interlevel because people of different experiences share the space, and it's really interesting. Oops, where? How do I stop annotating?
There's an X.
Sige,
just move on na lang.
Move on. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the studio area is very it has a lot of light, but I think what a lot of people say is a con is that all of the other areas lack light. So this space, that space, all of it is pretty dark. Now, I kind of want to defend the building, thinking that he purposefully did this so that people move to the space that has more light. I don't know. And then here's the floor plan. It's very porous. This area is the entrance to the studio and the workshop. This is the entrance to the library, and then this area is for the lecture halls. The original plan of the building was to have it open to street level, but security and other factors played a role, so they had to close it off. And they wanted to make this area the exhibition space. So moving on to the next floor, if you enter the library and go down these stairs, you actually get all of a bigger library underground, which I think kind of makes sense because you need a lot of room for shelves and other things that take up a lot of wall space. So it makes sense to keep it underground. And then a lot of the other back of house, like the electrical, mechanical, other things, and a space to keep rare books, which should be underground, is here as well. And then moving on to the second floor, you go up through the studio space and through the studio space, and that's where you kind of enter the whole area. And then you can kind of see that entire separation with the L block earlier, where it houses all of the faculty and other things. And almost every other floor is like that now, so I didn't really present it anymore. But here it is. A lot of the spaces is interestingly for faculty. Each faculty member, I think, has their own office. And yeah, that's our case study.
So, before proceeding to the form finding, we also did some initial research on the history of the hi-fi building. So it was designed by A.J. Javier. I think alumni siya or former alumni sa Binild. And then ito yung original.
Is one of he pioneered the architecture program. Wala pang archi before, ha?
Opo, yes sir. Parang na-mention rin ni Sir Cooks before sa amin na strict na prof siya. Like tawag sa kanya dati is boss from hell.
Yun pa rin ang tawag sa kanya. But he's a cool guy.
Opo.
Okay, go ahead.
So, yung original project, not sure pero parang planned na yung katabing structure is kasama sa project. So, ayan. Pero now, yung left side lang yung ginawa. Pero we can see na gumamit si Architect AJ dito ng steel or some sort of aluminum na nagpapatina or will occur weathering over time na nag-a-add ng more character into it. So, next slide. So currently, not sure if di natuloy or di na nasama yung part na yon. Pero we took into consideration yung layout and yung itsura ng structure na yun in our form findings. Next slide. So we have 3 iterations. So we had multiple variations in aral beforehand in order to have an amalgamation of these ideas. So first iteration was we tried to be playful, just to be creative with it. Then for the second, we tried to be more pragmatic and focus on the functional side of the structure. And then lastly, we came up to the combination of those playful and pragmatic ideas and also becoming responsive to the site and having a sunshade facade. Next slide. So first we have the site which is 400 square meters. Then we extruded this into 8 levels. Pero we had a basement, so I think it's 9 levels. Basement is for the library since we tried to relate it to the case study. And then we had voids to make space for the staircases and outdoor decks. And then elevated the structure para yung ground floor is semi-public siya since we plan it to be on exhibition, gallery, and also the lobby. And then we implemented sa fifth step yung trace from the case study. Yung sloping area siya na for studio or co-working space lang talaga siya. And it will have an natural lighting. And then in the last part, we just cleaned it up and added realistic features like structural members and the profile on the lecture hall, which is on the second floor. So next slide. So ito yung na-plan namin na space requirements ng structure. So in the basement, we will have the library. In the ground floor, we will have the lobby and gallery. Second floor is for the lecture hall. And then meron tayong mga faculty, classrooms, laboratories, cafeterias, and 8th floor and for the rooftop then is yung studio o co-working space. Next slide. So ito yung how we envision the project to look on site and also during the night. And naisip namin na para siya, we can call it the obelisk building since it's like a stone pillar with a triangular top part. And also para din siyang landmark, which is like an obelisk. Next slide. So we also, yun nga, took into consideration yung current look ng site to be more sensible and responsive to it. So ito yung itsura niya next to the hi-fi building. Next slide. And that's all for our presentation.
Okay, hold on lang. I just need to throw something. Okay. Brilliant presentation. I love everything is curated. I also love that you have the SDA at the hi-fi building model. And I want everyone to use that, including the height. You need to be very sensitive of the surrounding buildings, because keep in mind that the hi-fi is owned by the same institution. So it's just, it just makes sense that we relate whatever proposal that we have to this building, albeit our building is going to be very different. And in my lectures in the previous theory classes, our architect's responsibility in responding to context is not just how it looks, but also how people move around and how we continue that story in terms of program. So I want you guys to imagine Manila as a city. How do you continue the story of the city with your building? We already have a SDA building, or SED building. We have Maison, I'm sorry, Hotel Benil. Whether you like them or not, it is the story of the city already. Hi-fi I like particularly. So how do you continue that? No, so and then we have a historical building, the Becky's Kitchen, etc. That's why if you just for the benefit of the other students, if you notice the other buildings abroad, especially in European countries, when they build something, they make sure it's super quality already because they don't have any space anymore to build. Everything's already built up, and most of the buildings are historical. So that's how they continue the narrative of their city. So some cities, they won't allow you to build too modern. You need to continue the style, the architectural morphology of the surrounding areas. But other cities would actually allow a contrasting approach so that they can differentiate the timeline between the historical building and the modern building. In our case, now that we're responding to Locsin, it's the same thing. So how do we continue that narrative? I would imagine probably I can only assume that hi-fi somehow alludes to the slanting forms of the SDA, but I could be wrong. But somehow that's how I relate it. So it can be different, but you can communicate or reference in different ways. Can you go to the previous slide? Okay, wait lang ha. Okay. Obelisk, I'm not so sure. I don't see the obelisk. It's a little stretch. So I want you guys to make sure that if you want to name it or brand it, make sure you have an FGD and then find out if it's agreeable. Okay. Otherwise, it will be a very self-indulgent branding. Not only you can see it. Also, try to reflect the important buildings that we need to reference. Definitely, ilagay nyo na dito yung hi-fi. You might say, hi-fi is a strong design. And I want my design to stand out. And that's the point, guys. I want you guys to somehow make your design, even if it's, let's say, it's just a box, etc., is still noticeable despite the strong presence of the hi-fi. You know what I mean? So I want you guys to include the massive, the hi-fi, attempt to produce the massing of the Becky's Kitchen because it's historical. I think, is it behind the bato? I'm not sure. But when it's newly painted, it's super nice, guys. What else? And also the atrium building. Okay, can we go backwards again? Okay, backwards. These are good. These are all good. My comment is, can we go to the This is something that I always raise with my co-jurors during a thesis deliberation. Like, you have all this research, no? You have all this material and knowledge that are all very impressive. And then you end up with something meh. I'm sure you know what the meh means, no? You get it? So sometimes I don't blame the student sometimes, but sometimes I have to because sometimes it's just lazy work, basically they're just copying a system, trying to tick all the boxes. Oh, I have research, I have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then I have chapter 4, which is architectural design. And then I think all the way it's complete. Then you can pass the thesis proceeding. But is it really presenting something exciting, something new, etc.? So it's either there's none, but the student has to pass because they tick all the boxes, or um, it is or it's something like very rich information, very rich in process, just like this one, and yet it's something that you've seen before. Do you get it to Joshua squared?
Yes, boss.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know. I'm just pinning you. This is the design exercise. This is a design critique, and I want you guys to uh, take it as a grain of salt. And I want you guys to always step backwards and see and assess and edit. Is this what I really want? I mean, it looks really good on paper. Like so many ideas. It's irrefutable. A lot of information are good, etc. But am I happy with it? Is this gonna there's a there's a there's a there's an element that is not measurable. Is the excitement of the human spirit, etc. There's a quote, I forgot now who quoted it. No, so something that you feel when you're in a building, and when you're in this building, guys, do you feel something very unique? Overall, I'm sure the topmost floor, although syempre may issue yan sa greenhouse effect, it's gonna be something unique. But as a totality, is it something that you've seen before? Guys, I'm asking you, Joshua Squared.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's good. It's good that you're honest. In fact, I'm more excited with number 2. You get it? I'm more excited with number 2, not because of my aesthetic biases, but it's something that I have not seen before. But there are ideas that I can see, and it's somehow brutalist, brutalist appropriate. Here, the reason why I said that it might be not that exciting because it's a hodgepodge of different ideas, not necessarily brutalist anymore. While I love the Harvard building, I think the other elements took away I don't know if it's trying to become brutalist. I'm not sure if it's conscious of it. Because the plasticity is not there, but there's some plasticity in it. Don't get me wrong. But I love how collaborative the space is. I think it's a goal of a lot of architecture schools to have that kind of architectural studio spaces for their students, and that's what they're trying to achieve at the topmost floor. Um, but the combination of the metal, etc., the glass, etc., it may be addressing the coldness and the dark spaces that Brutalist normally produces, and that's one of the things that I want us to address. But at the same time, now that I'm looking at it, it feels like it's an ordinary building. It's like I can relate it to the atrium. Yes, can you somehow relate it to the atrium?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Diba? Halos similar sila, diba? Yung language nila. Sabihin natin, it's all concrete. The critical mass of the form is echoing the atrium. As compared to number 2, when I'm looking at it, I'm not saying that you pick the scheme. I know that it's going to be brutalist, just judging by the plasticity of the forms. And I know that I'm not saying that you don't use glass. Don't get me wrong. There are ways to do it that doesn't uh, take away the or lessen the presence of concrete. Yeah, and then number 3 is more high tech, actually, more if I don't know, more Renzo Piano-ish, Norman Foster-ish, Richard Roger-ish. Are you familiar with those guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then you combine it. I think there's a feature of high-tech architecture that's also labeled brutalist because it tries to expose honesty, etc. Sometimes there are layered. So, but somehow, when we're looking at the number 4, yeah, it's a sort of like you see this very straightforward stairs, like the atrium, no? Very atrium, ganyan, no? So, that is how we are interpreting it. How in love are you with number 4, Joshua?
Ako po ba, sir?
Yeah, kahit sino.
Ah, Parang pinaka-finactor ko po kasi dyan talaga, sir, is yung stairs or yung escalator.
Tama naman, oh.
Para siyang naka-sandwich in between yung hi-fi. So parang I designed around that.
Maganda yun. I like the idea of circulation, which is good. This is what I'm teaching you now. Then step back. Yes, I tick the boxes of circulation, communicating with hi-fi, but what else can I do to make this space more engaging and more that I would imagine that the students will hang out. Don't just imagine it's a stairs. If you're talking about communicating with hi-fi, then make it as hangout space. Do you get it? Maybe you make it a little wider so that there's a space for sitting. Do you get it? And that somehow people are hanging out, appreciating hi-fi and appreciating your building. Do you get it?
Yes po, sir.
So things like that, and that way you can explore with forms, play with forms, etc. Okay.
Noted po, sir.
But other than that, brilliant presentation. I love how custom made everything. Keep it up because one of the requirements that I will know is that we create a dossier of your ideas for the exhibition. Okay. Excellent work, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Sir, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Because I went to hi-fi and parang half of that building is for circulation lang. Like it's all stairs and ramps. Is it possible to connect the building to hi-fi? Because the original plan seemed like it was supposed to connect to this building.
It seems, no? So if this is a real project, we will ask permission from the architect, KAJ, if we can do that. But also, it's owned by, I know, as a respect to the designer, but also this is owned by the school. Definitely, we have that freedom to connect.
Okay.
So it's good that you already research. So somehow, when you have a floor plan, kunyari, we design it completely already, and then maybe the ground floor or the third floor or whatever is connecting to your floor, then you need to show a portion of the hi-fi floor plan to substantiate what you're trying to say. Okay? And then create that perspective that, there's I'm not sure if it's an architecture program, Cooper Union. I don't know if it's Coop Himmelblau who designed it. I forgot. Forgive me if I got it wrong. But their staircase is a central thing. So when you're looking at your staircase, the idea is great, but does it feel special, guys? Yes or no?
Di po, sir.
Di ba? Mukhang fire exit lang, di ba? So I want you guys to think that way, no? Lalo na ang material yung guys concrete. So you can do a lot with concrete. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So look up that actually ang moniker nun wall E kasi mukhang wall E yung facade. I'm not sure if it's Himmelblau, Tom Main, I forgot, but search it up or probably I try to Google it later. Okay, thank you
See you,
guys.
sir.
Other
Thank you,
questions?
sir. None for me.
Okay, Jenkins.
Thank you po.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Jenkins and Nashon.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Okay, go ahead.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Philip Jenkins, and I'm going to present week 5 with my partner, Kim Nashon.
So with our case study, we actually chose this specific building since we like how encapsulated its design concept. Next slide, please. So we chose the Strasburg School of Architecture in Strasbourg, France, or it also known as La Fabrique. So the architect is Marc Mimram, with the area of 4,500 square meters in year 2014. So La Fabrique is designed the teaching spaces to allow the city to permit its facade. This encourages students to engage with the building's context. But aside from that, it also echoes the study of architecture, the construction of knowledge, and the knowledge of construction itself. Next slide, please.
So this slide shows the section of the Strasburg School. So we've noticed several features that the school has. And first off is the architectural studio has a space or atmosphere where architects, designers, and other parts of the studio can freely share and reflect around different ideas. We've noticed this because the partitions are kind of made of glass, and with that, people could really see one another, or basically could connect to one another. And another section is that we also thought that they were imagining and thinking about the perfect architectural studio workplace. And you can see different spaces here.
So moving forward to the floor plan, and actually the of architecture, the first phase of the new development for the Strasbourg Architecture School, since also renovate the existing building next door, which will be known as the garage. So with the floor plans, you would see that the first floor plan that a bridge would be linked from La Fabrique to La Garage, and this next slide, please. This would also be in the second floor. So with the next floor plans, you would see how the architect or the design actually utilize the natural lighting, since the building reflects the changing light as the sun moves around the facade. And by night, inside and outside will be reversed, which will reveal the building skeleton and morphing between transparent and opaque. Next slide, please. So here's fourth and fifth floor plan, and you would see throughout the floor plans that layout is not the same. There would be changes since it communicates with how it is angled and exterior wise. Next slide, please. Next is the sixth floor plan and the basement floor plan. So the basement floor plan occupies the auditoriums for the architecture school. Next slide, please.
So as I mentioned a while ago, the interior kind of depicts as a transparent idea wherein people could really connect to one another, since the partition are kind of made out of glass, so people could see you, for example, by presenting, and they could really take ideas from your work.
So before moving forward to the fourth ending, we want to create a concept or to this concept that we want to encapsulate. Next slide, please. And we chose invisible string theory. This is the idea that the universe itself is stitched together with unseen threads, all of which lead to destinies. So according to Van Horn, it is a concept that believes despite physical distance, there are subtle lines between souls that are interconnected, as if they've been orbiting too close to one another in a different dimension before meeting in a divine timing. So how do we manifest this in architecture? Next slide, please. So, according to Megan Firestarter, connections have always been in place for us to meet important people, places, and opportunities. And this is one way we can see invisible string theory. So, in studying architecture, in a way, it's about embracing the whole process of creating design, creative design, wherein beautiful creations is not actually linear, but messy in their own way, and small details are tangled together that you will later on see that it creates the bigger picture. And this is what we want to encapsulate all throughout our design process is the messy creative design that studying architecture have, that it is not always linear, but there will be always things that would change, and it is not always right, and that's what we want to really encapsulate with. Next slide, please.
So for our form finding, we're going to show it in SketchUp. Give me a second. So we decided to show it in SketchUp for future iterations. And to begin with, we kind of wanted to have fun creating this form. We wanted to combine our ideas and to combine the theories used in our project. So first off is we divided the structure into three. And second is to create openings for the middle piece. So as Kim mentioned for the theory, the invisible string theory, we wanted the middle piece to be like the connection to the different spaces of the structure. With that, we voided out some pieces to the middle piece. This represents openness, and this provides ventilation and natural lighting. And as I said, the middle piece will be the open ground or the open area wherein people could really provide their exhibits, show their exhibits, and connect people to one another in one space. So this form, so our idea with this is that we wanted several open spaces. Our idea as well is that we want open spaces because as an architectural student, our dream is kind of to have open space wherein we could remove stress from a school, for example, and open space could really help with that problem. And with this, we kind of twisted this part to provide more open space. So not only for removing stress, but also an idea wherein we could put nature to it. We could put trees or other type of nature. And lastly is the final form wherein you could see the connection between the middle piece to the other pieces. And that is it for our presentation.
Just to add with the explanation of Charles, aside from we want to the linear the non-linear of studying architecture, we also embrace the natural imperfections that brutalism have, the natural imperfection and architecture, since it gives a sense of groundedness, somehow comforting to people. That's all for sir.
Okay. I love how expressive your final form is. But again, don't fall in love with it yet the moment we ground it with spatial requirements. Okay? So, but I love the direction. But the moment we introduce open halls, auditoriums, 3D printing, etc., this might not happen. Keep in mind, I said the word might, but I'm pushing you to make this happen. All right? The moment we learn more about the project. Okay? Wala pa tayong structural. So definitely, the pureness of how sculptural this is might get edited. Do you get it, Joshua and Nashon? Jenkins?
Yes, sir.
Can you go to the previous slides? Let me just double check.
Wait lang, sir.
Okay. Can you repeat what invisible string theory again?
Basically, sir, invisible is the idea that all of us are connected in a way cannot really see if in a daily basis. So creating the bigger picture in the end, and we want to manifest in our by embracing the process of the messy creative design itself, wherein it is not linear, that's not perfect. So we want yun nga, which also connects with the natural perfection and brutalism na we want to encapsulate po.
Okay. Can I see the other slides? Okay. What else? So this is the case study. Okay. What else? Can you move backwards? Okay. What else? Do you have a floor? Yeah. Okay. Backwards. Okay. Do you have a wish list?
Yes, sir. We created a write-up about it, but we weren't able to put it in the slides. Pero we could mention it naman po right now, if it's okay.
So can we go to the floor plan? What did you learn about the Strasburg School of Architecture?
Siguro sir, we learned siguro we actually really yung nag-stuck sa amin is how open it is and not constricting. If you're inside, if you you would see dun sa photos nung interior po. Since it is one of our wish list as an architecture student, is parang a way to decompress na hindi very constricting yung spaces. But you would see sa floor plans that there is not much of like hallways na very maze-like and very dark in a sense. It's very light and really utilize natural lighting po throughout.
Okay. Sige. Do you have other questions?
None, sir.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So can we
Thank you,
go
sir.
to Miranda and Pitoy?
Sir,
Yeah?
Miranda po ba?
Miranda and Sino ba dapat? Wait
Ako
lang.
po, sir.
Who's speaking? Sorry.
Peñamora po.
Kasi after Jenkins, tapos si Jumig, then na Sean, and then after Jumig is Miranda.
Yan po, pair po kami. Teka lang po, share screen po.
Wait, is it Miranda or you? Your group or you? Any? Huh? Go ahead, guys. Anyone? Any? Let's
Share
suppose
screen po.
Miranda. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hello. So this is our week 5 Fresh Boots with this architecture. We're Miranda and Peñamora. Okay.
Sorry. Nagkamali ako sa group mo.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
For our case study, we will be discussing the Milstein Hall at Cornell University. Next slide. Next slide. The Milstein Hall at Cornell University is located at New York, United States, designed by the architects of Office for Metropolitan Architecture, or OMA. It is designed in 2006 and built in 2009 to 2011. Next slide. The Milstein Hall is made to unify 4 existing buildings with different programmatic use of the AAP College, or College of Architecture, Art, and Planning. So instead of creating a new autonomous building, this hall is an addition to the buildings of the AAP, forming a unified complex with continuous levels of interconnected spaces, both indoors and outdoors. The active extra space poses a new master plan for facilities of the college, creating new spaces in its entirely internal programming. So physically, Millstone Hall is a connector between one site under existing conditions. Next slide, please. As you can see in the photo, it's basically they just made a new hall to the existing school or college to connect these, as the four existing buildings of AAP called Rand, Silby, the Foundry, and Haddon Hall exhibit varying architectural styles, but they share one single typology, which is a linear corridor-based building that segregate the AAP's disciplines in closed rooms behind a labyrinth of entrances, security codes, and also dead ends. Also, a professor in the Cornell University also mentioned that we have a couple of buildings here on campus that were always divided, and we've always have to run back and forth in the middle of winter. So another contributing factor for this Millstone Hall is that it was made to alleviate the experiences of the end users. Next slide, please. So the Millstone Hall provides a type of space currently absent from the campus, a wide open expanse that stimulates the interaction of programs and allows flexibility over time. With Millstone Hall's upper plate, which has access to the previous existing buildings, areas are defined not by walls, but by subtle manipulations of sections that trigger particular uses. Next slide, please. So in order to further discuss the Millstone Hall, we will be discussing the following, which are the parts of the building, spaces, and levels. Next slide, please.
Okay.
So these are the
sorry.
parts. Okay. Next slide. Now for the first part of just to give an overall description of the Millstone Hall is the upper plate. The upper plate is to serve as an educational platform for the departments of architecture, art, and planning. It is a open condition that could trigger interaction and discussion, sure the students and teachers will generate unexpected uses and conditions that go beyond that they have planned. So basically, again, it's just the connection that triggers the interaction between the fields in the college. So it is 2,323 square feet and 50 meters above University Avenue or yung street level. Another part of the Millstone Hall is its roof, also called as sedum, which is a 2,415 square meters and is considered another facade of the building, reinforcing the connector of the same concept. So the entire roof have skylights as well as vegetation of tinatawag na sedum plantings. Next slide, please. So, ito yung roof plan na meron sa provided in the internet as we research on this. So, you can see yung mga square is yung skylights and then yung sedum plantings. Ayan. It's a type of some sort of flower. And next slide. Also, the sedum plantings are made to have different varying diameter in size. So, paliit siya or rather palaki to create a view for the students na bukod sa street level. So, yung ibang hallway ay makikita yung roof na tong green roof. And then for the facade, the outer skin of the upper floor responds with different materials to the demands of their position in the building. The glass wall is a continuous band of 3.66 meters high. Just framing its upper and lower part with simplified marble Turkish bands that divide the extension of the upper floor. The natural veining of the marble, vertically and black and gray color, enrich the outside with a specific scale and unique material, however, serves to unite the different buildings in this area of campus, despite their architectural style. So this facade, again, unifies the other halls that is previously existing. So, despite yung differences nila in aesthetic, ito ay naging connector. Next slide. So, we will be discussing the levels and spaces. So, unfortunately, yung previous existing college buildings aren't provided, yung floor plan niya aren't provided sa pagre-research namin. So, what we will be discussing is focused lang dun sa additional, which is the Milston Hall, na naging improvement dun sa kanilang college. So, this is the ground floor where you can see yung existing halls and yung pinaka-inad lang nila, and at the bottom is yung section rin. So, sa ground floor, nandito yung auditorium, critic room, as well as yung lobby. Next slide. So, ito yung auditorium, which is yung number 6 sa plan. The auditorium was designed to provide maximum flexibility to allow multiple programs and functions to occur. Yung auditorium is divided into two. So, yung isang side is with fixed seats on yung parang pataas na section. And then, sa lower level is loose seats. When the auditorium is not used at its full capacity of 300 people, the lower level can be used for studio critics and smaller meetings. The fixed and loose seats were custom designed, and their unique design reinforces the flexibility of the auditorium as the cantilevered fixed seat backs fold down to form continuous bench for higher capacity seating. This configuration of the benches can also be used for exhibition and display or create a side table out of unoccupied adjacent seat. So this auditorium is not just an auditorium, it's very flexible. Next slide, please. Another significant feature that this Milstein Hall have is its dome, which is a double-layered concrete system. The exposed underside is a cast-in-place structural slab spanning the main critic space beneath the dome. The dome serves multiple functions. It supports the auditorium seating. It becomes the stairs leading up to the studio plate above, and it is the artificial ground for an array of exterior seating pods custom fabricated. Next slide. So this is the second floor, or what they called us as the upper plate. Oh wait, never mind. Sorry. Ito is, the number 4 is the lobby. So pinakita lang namin yung mas close-up look. Next slide. Now, this is the second floor, which tinatawag rin nilang upper plate, where the studios, lounges, and bleachers are here, are located. So here in the floor plan, yung upper plate is huge studio space. So it is very flexible. And again, nandyan lang yung mga tables and other spaces na the students can configure to fit their needs or to inspire them. Next slide. Next slide, please. So a closer look. So yung again, yung nasa ibaba is its section showing yung dome, parang protruding from the street level. It has its exhibition, critic room, gallery. Next slide. Ito yung kaninang na-mention na yung dome is nagsusupport rin to outer seats, which is yung pods, yung nasa orange. Next slide.
Okay, now we're gonna talk about the iteration. So how does one become like, how does a structure is categorized as brutalist architecture? So it is rough, unfinished surfaces, unusual shapes, bulky materials, straight lines, and small windows. So I'm gonna talk about my 2 iterations on how I parang based na rin on the case study and of course this description itself. So for the first iteration, basically it's more of a parang a circular thing. Basically it gives emphasis na rin po on the bulkiness of the structure, which is yung parang columns niya itself. So basically, I played around the form a bit when it comes to the layers part. Basically, it's very simple, like it to be very centered. And there's also a concept that I would like to parang play around, which is the Venturi effect. Since we'd like our area to be much more natural in terms of its parang windy. But of course, I'll have to take consideration na dapat may pagka-enclose pa rin siya. Para it's almost, at least it has the parang description na pagka-closeness niya sa brutalist architecture. So basically, pwede siya para maging modular type of architecture, which there are 2 types of rooms, in which the circular one and the square one. But I'm still trying to play around the arrangements of these rooms, and it may still depend pa rin on the programs that we will have to research pa and what's needed pa talaga sa isang architecture school. The next one naman, basically this shows the parang when you look at brutalist architectures na structures, may pagka-opposing sila in terms of parang their scale and their parang mass. In this concept naman, I would like to show naman na the building reflects the students, because how I see architectural students, they're just like buildings. They're actually parang incomplete pa. So it's in the process pa rin of parang constructing pa themselves. So this shows may pagka-incompleteness ng mga students. And based sa parang case study, since sobrang spacious ng mga halls niya, I would like to give iteration with the spacious magbigay pa ng space for the building. So pagdating naman sa shape na part, I'm not sure if I'm gonna continue it's not a cone-like shape. I'm not sure parang how I'm gonna describe it. I think it's almost like an obelisk na rin that is encased in a I'm not sure how do you describe it. I think it's like a box. Pero basically, I'm still playing around it. I'm not quite proud of my 2 iterations. I'm still gonna add more pa on that. So let's move on to Claire's idea. Before that, I parang placed it muna sa isang scaled up map just in case I need to check more pa on how I'm gonna adapt it to its surroundings. So ito yung second iteration ko in a context po, in a site. And then ito po yung yung first iteration ko. So let's move on to the next. So ito yung renders niya. Okay.
Now next, so for this iteration, it's more of an exploration of a concept. So di siya ganun ka-pragmatic. So in coming up with this design, I've thought of the words negative connotations with for brutalist architecture, which is yun nga, cold, crude, and abrasive. And I wanted a concept that will somewhat incorporate an opposite feeling. So instead of cold, something welcoming instead. Or at least yung thought or yung idea ng design process. So next. So, ayan. I wanted it to be geometric, raw, and again, has a concept or rather story so that hindi siya hopefully not to give that cold feeling. Next slide. So again, this is just an exploration of the concept, which is yung painting ni Amor Solo, which is Bayanihan. I tried to make it geometric as possible, but then again, this is just an exploration and an initial idea. And actually, I wanted to be for it to be more simplified since medyo madami tong edges yung nagawa kong geometry out of the form coming from the inspiration ng painting. Next slide. And then here are the other pegs or yung parang na-visualize ko with this concept. So, of course, kinonsider ko rin na square yung base since yung site natin is very small and I wanted to maximize the space. And ayan, makikita here the thought process behind the concept, which is yung bayanihan, the figure ng human carrying some sort of bahay kubo or a shape na much more simplified, which is as illustrated. And next slide. Ayan lang. So, divide lang siya into levels, pero yung idea is yung form is magfo-follow dun sa human figures na naging geometric. So that's all for our presentation.
Okay, what do you call that? Again, this is just an exploration. And I think did I mention before that try to minimize saying I want. make sure that you are more invested in the study rather than what you're inclined to doing, which is very subjective. Can you go back to your slide? Because like alluding this to a person is very subjective, no? You cannot force anyone to see the person that is carrying something. So I know that this is an exploration stage, but yeah, I mean, it's very subjective. And that's very hard to measure. What you want and what's beautiful for you is very hard to measure. And that's why when you're looking at conceptualization like this, again, it's very subjective. Can we go to the previous slide of the other one of the ideas of the okay, I think what's very redeeming of your message, Peñamora, is that when you said that architecture students are raw and it's like being in a state of being unfinished.
Yes po, parang incomplete po sila.
Is it something that you both like, that idea?
That's what I'm trying, what I'm actually feeling right now and what I'm noticing with many students. Kasi I've actually have friends na with other batches and they feel like that, yun na nga, they're not enough. Their parang statement when it comes to architecture is not parang
I'm
formed
asking
up.
the both of you, like, is it a same sentiment as a group?
Parang ganun po.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you can work around the idea of unfinished state because it's also good with the building technology laboratories wherein the students are going to build something that's unfinished, and then the succeeding batch will continue it, then you will need space for that. And what if the entire buildings is in a sort of unfinished state, but it's a finished building but allows for continuation. And but of course we'll still have those spaces and the forms that you like to express. When I'm looking at these forms and on the screen, you treat architecture like a trophy, like you can put it anywhere. It doesn't feel like, it's communicating with the surroundings yet. Meaning, I can put this in Quezon City, I can put this in New York, etc., because it's treated like an isolated object or a display. If you make it into a small model, you can put it on the shelf. You know what I mean?
Yes po.
So it's a singular object that is freestanding, that is not referencing anything. Okay? So, and I want you guys to be more sensitive with the site. There are developments right now, which I'm going to share later. So, better development. Okay? Sige. Do you have any questions, guys?
As of now, wala pa naman po. We'll contact you na lang, sir, once we have formulated any questions po.
Okay, sige. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, let's go to Yvonne and Pitoy.
Mag-share screen lang po ako, sir. Hello, sir. Kita na po ba, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, so hello everyone. We are Yvonne Paes and Luis Pitoy. So we are presenting now our progress for week 5. So, bago po namin i-tackle yung mga progress, gusto po muna namin magkaroon ng clear understanding of what brutalist architecture means. So brutalist architecture is a style of building design developed in 1950s in the United Kingdom following World War II. The ornamentation is minimal, emphasizing the raw beauty of materials and structures. The term brutalism originates from the French word béton brut, meaning raw concrete, which reflects the prominent use of concrete in many brutalist buildings.
So for the philosophy of brutalist architecture, it involves two ideas. And first is the honest expression. So brutalist architects aim to create buildings that were truthful to their materials and function, avoiding superficial decoration. And secondly are social ideals. These are often associated with socialist and welfare state ideals, aiming to provide functional and dignified spaces for all.
So, rawness and authenticity. Na-connect po namin yung plasticity and poetry to this because plasticity refers to the inherent malleability of transformability of raw materials aligning with brutalist rejection of artificial facades. And as you said, sir, earlier, concrete is have this potential of pwede mo siyang ma-mold in different ways. So, ayun po. And poetry can be raw and unadorned, conveying emotions through struck imagery, powerful words, similar to brutalist architecture's impact.
So furthermore, to also be more to provide more understanding for us, we're also going to share with you what we have determined about the different keywords that are inclined to this project. So we have come up with the idea of connection to nature and growth as the main component with brutalist architecture. And these include the following. First is vegetation and produce. So brutalist architecture sometimes incorporates greenery, blurring the lines between the built and natural environments. And secondly is producing building. The act of producing suggests growth and creation, aligned with nature's constant cycle of life and renewal. And lastly is the verdant building. So this concept envisions a brutalist structure integrated with nature, fostering an organic and sustainable approach.
So, this is a brief information about Leandro Locsin. He's a famous architect known for his influential works in the style of brutalist architecture. He combined elements of brutalism with indigenous Filipino design motifs, creating a unique architectural language that celebrates both modernism and local identity.
So first example that we would like to share that is one of the main projects of Leandro Locsin is the Cultural Center of the Philippines complex. So this was created in 1966 with the purpose of promoting and preserving the best of Filipino arts and culture.
And next one is the National Arts Center, which is a prime example of brutalist architecture in the Philippines, located in Mount Makiling, Los Baños, Laguna. The center was completed in 1976 and serves as a venue for various cultural and artistic activities.
So for our first case study, we ended up having two case studies since we determined that what we initially wanted wasn't really an architecture school, but instead an art school that has that offers the architecture program. So we first would like to introduce the Crescent University, specifically its School of Architecture.
So this is one of the constituent schools of P.S. Abdur Rahman Crescent Institute of Science and Technology, located in Bangalore, Chennai, India. It was established in 2010. The school aims to nurture aspiring architects who are not only technically skilled, but also possess critical thinking, creativity, and social responsibility. So this is the conceptual framework that they did on the School of Architecture. First, they determined the connection with the rest of the campus. Then next one is the linear mass elevation maximizes the open space of the building and its connection to the ground. Then next is they introduce a new ground, augmenting the relationship of the building aims to maintain with its context. And then binawasan po nila yung thickness to provide shade. And then they plug in the larger studio programs into the linear mass, which they ended up, ito po na yung final form nila. So this is the conceptual section showing the connection that they did, showing the connection of the structure to the ground and also the flow to the structure. So the building have a 7th floor. So as you can see here, malaki po yung presence ng open spaces. The programs or the rooms are very similar to SDA. However, what's lacking lang po sa SDA is yung open spaces, and it's understandable naman po since the site is located in Manila, which is very polluted. That's why hindi po natin ma-integrate yung ganong openness sa structure, kundi po ang mangyayari is magkakaroon lang po ng problem since madami pong kailangan i-maintain, especially nga madumi po yung hangin na papasok lagi sa school. Ganun po. And then, so this is the first floor plan. Pinakamalaki po nilang room is yung multi-purpose hall. Very similar lang po sa SDA. Then, meron din po silang computer lab, 2 computer lab na nagkikater po na 70 and 30 seaters po. Then, for the last 3 floors, doon lang po naka-allocate yung mga utilities. And then, this is the section and elevation. So, ito po yung the rest of their buildings. So, nakikita po natin dito na meron pa silang School of Life Science, Department of Aeronautics, and Student Activity Center. Pinapakita po dito na meron connection yung each building kahit po merong mga streets na separate po sa kanila. Then the next case study, this is our initial case study, which is the Glasgow School of Arts. It is made by Stephen Hall Architects. And the year of completion is 2018. It is a 3-story Glasgow School of, it's 3-story building within the 93,765 square foot structure. And ang idea po ng building na to is to connect the garden throughout the building po. So meron siyang connection, kinonnect niya to pataas ng building so that hindi lang parang meron kang garden sa gitna. It also moves around with the building. And they use concrete and glass because the glass creates a transparency within the students inside the building and outside the building po. So meron po silang amphitheater dito sa baba. So this is a common area for them to hang out or study as well. Then this is another perspective. The grass-covered roof formed a ramp that stretches to the top of the structure from the center structure garden. The walkable roof consists with the general approach of shaping public areas. The roof also connects 2 notable locations and the broad step amphitheater and its base at the BBVA compass roof garden above. So this is the main intersection within the school. Ito po yung nag-decide sila na instead na meron ka lang stairs and escalators, ginawa nila ng tawag dito, ng accent. Parang siya yung magiging accent ng mismong building since ito yung magiging common intersection ng mga tao. Dito sila magkakasalubong if students man sila or faculty. So ito po yung pinaka-main accent ng building. So these are the floor plans. Very similar lang po. Ang pinagkaiba lang is yung usage of the rooms because again, this is built for fine arts students. So meron silang mga jewelry studios and may mga sculpture workshops, metal workshops, wood workshops. Yun lang po. So here are the other elevations, the sections. Yan po.
So, answering the different questions provided, we would like to inspire the future through the experience in our project. So, two of the main experiences that a user can have in a place is the functional efficiency of the space. So it refers to the inherent, pinapalitan. Sorry. So I'll just mention it. So the functional efficiency, maybe you can re-share screen, Bonay.
Okay.
Kasi baka hindi lang nag-load.
Okay. Saan na yun?
Yan.
Ayan. Ayan po.
Okay, so repeating what I said, first we have the functional efficiency for a user to experience in a space. So designing spaces that seamlessly integrate with their surroundings and prioritize user comfort and convenience can inspire future designers. And it also becomes these are actually also our inspirations since as architecture students, we would like a very functional space that really prioritizes what we need as both as students and also as future aspiring architects. And then secondly, it's social impact. So buildings contribute positively to their communities by showing how architecture can foster equity, connectivity, and well-being. As architects, it is important for us to have cooperation with one another. So being inclined with the society and being able to showcase and express ourselves as a community and also as individuals ourselves is important for our experience, and it would really help inspire future designers. Next slide, please. So we would like to share what studio qualities we determined to be the most important in an architectural workplace. And these include creativity and innovation. So para po sa amin, when you enter a studio, it should, even though, let's say you're always there if you're already a part of that company, it should always foster your creativity and innovation. And it shouldn't become a stressful workplace since architecture can be very time consuming and a heavy job. So having a place that really ensures one's creativity and innovation and always inspires the mind to think more and create more is a very important quality of the studio. And secondly, of course, is the collaboration and teamwork between between colleagues or peers. And this would be helped with more open spaces, as mentioned earlier by Yvonne, that open spaces are lacked in SDA. So with more co-working open spaces, this would really help inspire individuals, both personally on their work and collaboratively. And lastly is the continuous learning. Like I said, apart from being able to be thinking more creatively, an architectural studio should always inspire you to learn more and to learn always. And yeah, next slide. So we kept our wish simple, and we just made a statement that says we would hope for a fostering open space that hones our creativity and continuously extends our curiosity to learn and imagine designs both in our minds and with our eyes. So that is our main goal for our project. And furthermore, what we would like to focus on is spatial layout with our architecture. So this quote by Zaha Hadid greatly would help contribute to our design process. So in the realm of architecture, the spatial layout serves not only as a physical framework, but as a catalyst for creativity and innovation. Next slide. So moving on to our form finding, we first determined our height, and since we have 8 stories, it would reach somewhat a near height to the atrium, which is 10 floors, if I'm not mistaken. And next slide, please. So we greatly were influenced by the 2 case studies that we've had, and we analyzed the conceptual framework that they wanted to imply or apply to their project. So our first iteration begins with opening the ground. Since our lot is kind of a small and tight space, and our area is just limited, so we wanted to make sure that the space on the ground is showing or showcasing to all users, both inside and outside the building, that the place or the space that you're in is very open and not very claustrophobic in a way. And then secondly is creating, of course, an incline to the higher floors. So we wanted this to be the main element of the ground floor, since it kind of offers or signifies a transition between the open ground space to the workplace that would be the higher floors for architecture students. And then third is we made this incline or staircase smaller or thinner, since we would like to still ensure the connection from all sides of the building, or like openness from all sides of the building. And then fourth iteration is determining the hierarchy of our floors. A part of our research was also the hi-fi building, like the other group, but instead of the exterior, we went with the interior of the hi-fi building and implementing that idea with our space as well. So from what we've read, the hi-fi building actually divides its floors for different kind of work. So for example, yung ground floor po nila is of course the lobby and the reception. And then when you go to the second floor, since it is an innovation building, so it's like it really encapsulates the purpose of the building being an innovation workspace. So when you move to the second floor, it becomes the ideation space for different innovations that students would come up with. And then when you go up another floor to the third floor, it would be the prototyping space. And then lastly is the rooftop or the top floor, which is the synthesis of everything. So we wanted to incorporate that idea with our project, since architecture has different tracks, as mentioned earlier as well in our first presentation with the class. we have different tracks that are under architecture. So apart from the specific spatial programs or like the needs of a school, generally, we would like to incorporate a different space for every track that would be in our program. So, example like the visual communications track, the thesis track, and the like. So, going on to the fifth iteration, we wanted to establish more of the distinguishment between these floors. So we extruded alternately the sides of the floors to help showcase or show more visually their distinguishment from one another. And then the sixth iteration is we initially wanted to have both the ground floor and the top floor being with the like because we determined every floor to be standard 3 meters, and we wanted the top floor to be with a high ceiling height like the Archie Hall, but we ended up dividing this again into a roof deck essentially to incorporate what we saw from the Salle School of Art. And then the seventh iteration is incorporating generally it's an open lounge for students, and also the rooms or the boxes at the back that would be, of course, able to accommodate the height of users, would eventually become, or what we would think would become is the exhibition or exhibit place for the projects of students. And the next slide, please. So for our last two iterations, we wanted to incorporate as well the staircase around the building. Like yung picture po from the Glazell School of Art, it's their main intersection in their building, but we wanted to incorporate that in our own way in our building. So apart from just a normal staircase that would be inside the building itself, we wanted to have a staircase that would help students be more interactive with the building itself. So help having them the opportunity or giving them the opportunity to go around the building, and we would eventually open the space between these staircases that are seen here. But hindi talaga open, like parang mas makikita lang ng students maybe through windows and stuff, yung mga ginagawa ng mga students in class or at work inside. So that would really help the students be more curious about what's going on inside, and also inspire them to keep, it's kind of like a keep going motivation, syempre, because architecture is kind of hard subject. And then lastly, the ninth iteration is just determining and establishing the inclines and how the spaces connect with one another, especially at the roof deck. So we wanted to incorporate as well yung roof lounge in sa Glazell School of Art, na in a way we would eventually put greeneries and vegetation here in an appropriate and proper way, but also how the users can interact on top of the buildings and also within the spaces in the building itself. And then the right is just a different view of the building. And next slide. So this is just a view of how it's going to look like in the site with a height of hi-fi beside it. And I believe high-rise na rin po yung nasa harap ng ng project site natin since it's parang newly built. So hindi ko po nalagay yung talagang height niya, but yeah, parang magkakatabi na po talaga yung high-rise doon. And the staircase that we implemented that goes around the building is set at the proper height that would help students look more around since mataas na po siya sa height ng hi-fi. So mas it would accommodate more views for the students. And yeah, that's it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Again, don't fall in love with this scheme yet, but I'm sure there are merits in this idea, like how programmatic it is, and that's our next exercise. It's an iteration of the programs with the form. So going back to your work, it's good that you considered how people move around, how people are going to use the space, and how needed the spaces are. Can we move backwards? Okay. Are you liking this idea so far, the direction that you guys are getting into?
Yes, sir. But apart from it being our very initial idea, it's actually a good direction that we're following what or what we've researched for ourselves and also what we'd like to implement to the project for
Okay.
the users to experience.
Okay. It's good that you're marrying the program and the events that will take place with the form. But keep in mind that we need to go back and forth later on, especially when you want to express certain volumes that express certain functionalities, etc. Because when we introduce structural elements already, those might get edited or they will be less prominent and less poetic. Okay, I want you guys to be aware of that. This latter part, I really like the presentation. Can we move backwards again? Okay, backwards. Okay, backwards. Okay, our wish list has to be very specific. It cannot be subjective. Like I said, we need something that is agreeable and understandable, not a slogan, not uh, not an ambiguous statement. You know, it won't help us at all. It won't help you as a designer if you are ambiguous this way. And I think we're past the era of marketing slogans, no? So this is a little corny already. So I want you guys to be very specific of what you want and what you need. Okay, is that understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The same thing with the previous one. Can we go backwards? Like studio qualities, creativity, innovation. I think these are all expected. One thing with my studio is that I want you guys to don't sweat the small stuff, but when it is actually looked for in terms of requirement, then you are ready to provide it. But these are all expected qualities of a studio. You don't need to we don't need to present it. You know what I mean? Especially when you're dealing with high profile individuals who have a lot of experiences already or clients, etc. You'll be wasting their time. Okay. So, but it's good that you are considering this, but I'm just teaching you something that is a real world condition. Can we move backwards? Okay, backwards. Kasi it's all ano eh. It sounds all not highfalutin, but more like high statements. You know what I mean? When it comes to this, we need to be straight to the point. Oh, I like this case study, Rania and Hermosa. If you notice, the staircase of these studies that they mentioned, that it's an event place. Things happen there because people hang out, people meet up in these places. Right? Tama ba ako, Pitoy?
Yes, sir.
Ayun,
And then the presence po na concrete na yung material po na ginamit nila sa staircase makes it much easier to maintain since alam nila na crowded lagi yung places and ayun po, yung concrete po makaka-help na mag-lessen ng maintenance.
Right now, we have this condition in Arche Hall, but it's just a hall. Basically, the hall doesn't really express that use. But how do you introduce that experience? And this is one good example of it. And I think although I've only seen it from the outside, the pedestrian access somewhat exhibits that kind of idea as well. Unfortunately, our lobby at the SDA is a formal lobby, doesn't have that kind of quality. It's a beautiful lobby, don't get me wrong. But ideas like this we want to introduce because again, we are not necessarily copying, but reintroducing brutalism. So I want you guys to put more ideas to the proposals. Can you move backwards? Backwards. So it's good that you are looking at these proposals and case studies so that you can learn. No? So basically, our session for the day is all about the case studies and learning from it, taking off from these existing projects and improving and seeing what we can improve on and learning about the weaknesses of our existing program, and then immersing in the process of creating, even though it's not perfect yet, with the project. Whether or not you're going to use it for your succeeding proposals, it remains to be seen because next week we'll have a different requirement, but it will involve modeling, but not modeling in a 3D printed way, not in a digital manner, but more of programmatic way. So do you have any questions, this group?
Wala pa naman to say.
Okay, thank you guys. Is Blue here? Justin, yeah, go ahead, Justin.
Kita po ba, sir?
Yeah, kita naman din.
Okay po. So, for my week 5, I have my case study po, which is the Bond University of Abedian School of Architecture. So, this school is located on the campus designed in 1980s by the architect Arata Isozaki, and it is located in 14 University Drive, Australia. And basically, it has curving concrete walls. It has secluded meeting rooms along the central thoroughfare, and then its studios, offices, labs, and resource rooms are arranged on either side of the corridor that rises gradually along the length of the building. So it also has cave-like sheltered meeting rooms, which are described as scoops. So dito po, sir, makikita po yung plan. So here, you can see na it is a long, airy loft. And it is 2 to 3 levels. So it is, again, articulated by a series of scoops. So defining structure, enclosures that can be used for casual meetings and grid sessions. So they also utilize the sociology and the sense of theater of small intimate groups within its institutions, and they focused on the importance of the non-circular moments and again having a sense of theater all throughout the structure. So dito po, sir, they based it on the designer's experiences on teaching. So it is a series of informal working environments throughout the faculty, again, as well as dedicated teaching spaces. Again, it has these cave-like sheltered meeting rooms, which are called scoops. So makikita po sa plan na the quiet meeting spaces are nestled against the base of smooth concrete walls that open onto the central pathway on one side, but also connect to the open studio spaces. So ito po yung center hallway, and then yung mga private spaces around the open hallway, and then here is a section of it po. And then with that, after looking into the concept na they use, which is the sense of theater, I came into the theory of dramaturgy. So basically, it considers the elements like stage settings, actor appearances, and mechanisms for individuals to transition between public and private roles within the building. So essentially, the goal is to create a space where yung public and private space can interact without causing any harm on either of the spaces. So there are two basic concepts sa dramaturgy, and the first one would be the actor's point of view, which are yung individuals or yung users ng space. So the first one is yung setting clothes to beautify the appearances of the actors. So for its concept or description, ito yung exterior setting ng structure or ng building. And then sa university naman po, it is the series of scoops, defining structure and enclosures, yung airy and feel doon sa hallway. And then next is yung actors. Next concept is yung actors. They need a mechanism to get off the stage, to be themselves. And then for the architectural expression, these are the goals, ideas. And sa university, it is the structure that molds into the hill itself to battle the hot and sticky climate of Australia. And then lastly is yung sa theater, which is yung stage setting, which is arranged in such a way for stage performances. And then if expressed architecturally, these are the building layout settings. So dito they use the sociology and the sense of theater. So having intimate groups within institutions, and again, a sense of theater. So next naman po na concept is yung the dramatic point of view or the designer or the architect. So here, architects can cause people to move in one direction or another by providing visual cues. So here is the concept is yung basically visual instruction. And then I've noticed at university that again, the sense of theater creates yung intimate spaces, it creates points of interactions in between, and then initiates public and public intersections between the two. And then lastly is yung an area illuminated in the context of darkness, since it will attract a person's movement. So basically, it's motion direction in the university's hallways. So from dark private spaces to illuminated open spaces in between them. And for my form finding po, I wanted to create a space na similar po doon, which separating the private and public space, but at the same time creating a connection between them, which is yung central hallway or yung central public space. So dito po, I've tried to sort them out. So basically po, I've separated them into two structures, and then sa gitna po is yung public space, and then beside those are private spaces or semi-private spaces, and then open spaces in between the first structure or of the one of the structure, and then create a intersection between them. So para po may points of interaction between the two spaces. So with that, I have created this form po. So basically, hinati ko lang po siya into two structures. So one structure also has an open space in between them, but connected with points of interaction. So the first photo po is the open space in between the two structure, and then the second photo is the open spaces in between the one of the structure. So with that, for my form finding po, the first figure po is basically dividing the spaces, creating partitions for the structure, and then followed by having the open space in between both structures po. And then I tried to dissect one of the structure and created a connection between both private and semi-private spaces, and then stacked them into basically 9 floors. So after that, I've connected both of them po. So, and also created a space below for access po. And I've created this form po. So that's it po, sir.
The first two images are renderings.
Yes po, sir.
Okay. So, what are your wish list for architecture program? I don't know if I missed that.
Ay hindi ko po na-include, sir, but basically, I wanted to have po na may points of interaction po in between the private spaces po for the students. So parang may connection pa din po with them.
Okay. So, I know that you're working as a solo company, but keep in mind that my expectation will be the same so that you can become a better designer, huh? So,
Yes po.
my critique on the farm is that it's something that I've seen before. It's almost looking like a car park building. Okay, so so don't take it offensively. Treat it as a, you know, looking at your design from another perspective. In my case, yeah, your professor, and you can also look. I want you to interact with your with your peers, and then also maybe your friends. You can also ask, what do you think of this design, etc. Although sometimes we get engrossed by all the ideas that we put into the building, into the design, and then we become too egoistic about it. So it's good to be egoistic in a way because you want to design something that is uniquely yours, but this is the time to be humble as well, to take notes because you're still learning, no? So for now, I'm happy with the effort being a solo designer. But right, don't fall in love with this yet. I just like everyone. I'm not saying that it's gonna be the final the final scheme already, because it's gonna undergo a lot of testing and a lot of iteration, because in practice it's gonna be the same thing. Okay, so this is the first try, and I'm very happy that you are immersing in this process, design it, and then you are, kasi yung process na to, guys, you are already familiarizing yourselves with the requirements, with the spaces, etc. So good job, Justin. And I also like ayun pala, hindi ko na makalimutan. I love the case study. It's good that you guys are not copying the case study, but somehow I'm expecting that you are critiquing it and then getting the good ideas, not just critiquing the bad ideas. So were there are there ideas in your proposal right now that demonstrate the scooping idea?
These are the spaces po na sa gilid po. That's how I interpreted it.
Okay, that's okay. Right now, it's not demonstrating it yet. Right now, it's just, just a wall, etc. This is where the design criticism is happening, no? So there's no connection between the idea that you're expressing and then the form that it translated into. Okay, and then can we go to the floor plan that you were talking about, the case studies? Of course, it's a very interesting floor plan, no? But the terminologies that you use, like scooping, etc., is it evident in the floor plan? Justin, is it evident? The scooping ideas, is it evident in the floor plan?
Yes.
Can we go to the previous slide? When you're looking at the actual building, the envelope, the skin, etc., is the scooping evident? The scooping idea evident?
Yes, sir.
See, it's agreeable, right? The scooping idea is agreeable. Now we go to your design. So is the scooping idea agreeable, or you have to explain it pa?
to explain it pa po, sir.
Oh, see, it needs to be that expressed so that your idea is explicitly embodying the concept, the form. Okay, the form is explicitly embodying the concept, vice versa. Do you get it, guys? Okay. Do you have any questions, Justin? Good job.
Wala naman po for now, sir.
Okay, so you may exit already. So one of the reasons why I said don't fall in love with the initial scheme yet, because there are developments now. Our site just became bigger, which means you have a lot more freedom to work on. And at the same time, will be adjacent to Becky's Kitchen. I just received a message from Sir Gerry. I'm going to forward the image, the screenshot of the new site. It's a bigger, and then we can react. And then make sure that you put in the massing the Becky's Kitchen heritage building, because it will be fun. Because have you seen heritage buildings in Europe wherein all of a sudden there's a Zaha Hadid building or a Peter Eisenman building? Have you seen pictures of those? Yes, no?
No, sir.
No, sige. But I'm gonna leave some images later. Ngayon na pala, sige. Before we end, no? By the way, this is the I forgot the architect, but this is the Cooper Union School in New York, and we see the stairs and event space. Hermosa, Joshua Square. This is the
Yes.
outside. Ayan. So it's event space. People really hang out there. Compared to the street flight staircase, people will just see it as a space to use and exit, no? So here, you can sit down. You have enough space to hang out. I mean, the design of this can still be better, no? So this is an example of that. Just show you a juxtaposition of modern and old building. This one is in Graz, Austria. This one by Peter Cook. He's one of the professors at the Bartlett. He's one of the pioneers of archigram. I don't know if you encountered archigram in your theory classes, but look how juxtaposing modern and old. It's really, it highlights the old, but it also highlights the building in itself, no? These are the images, no? Okay.
Anong material, sir, yung ginamit po sa
Glass.
exterior?
Glass. It's glass, and at the same time, it has a digital programming, so it expresses the exhibition outside. Those lights that you see, can you see my cursor? Yung may ilaw-ilaw na yan, naka-program yan. It para to highlight, no, So maybe just the idea is it's like an octopus or squid, di ba? Yung parang bioluminescence, etc. But the way they react to the context is that they lifted the blob. There was a time kasi that blob architecture was popular. They lifted the blob and then they created a public space underneath. It's very democratic underneath. That's why it looks like it's floating, no? And then all these tentacles or ventricles, or whatever you call it, yung makita niyan, those are like telescopes. Not telescopes, but those are windows. So when you are at the gallery at the succeeding floors, you're looking out to the views of Graz, Austria. It highlights the landmarks of Austria, highlights the tower, etc. That's how it communicates with the building. That's what I meant, no? How do you continue the narrative of the city? Another one is dancing. Ayan, this is another one, old and then all of a sudden new. All right? And then we have ayan, no? Kita yan? All right? So that's why I'm excited to include Becca's Kitchen in the context study, no? You can play around how you can highlight and make people know that this is a super old building that needs to be preserved by designing something that is very modern, that has its own expression, that highlights hi-fi, highlights that Becca's Kitchen as well. Do you get it? Okay, I want you guys to percolate on these ideas, sleep, dream on it, etc. But for next week, in a nutshell, although I'm going to provide a list by tomorrow, in a nutshell, you are going to create 3D model, use Sintra, you can color, but color coded. You guys can agree on the color codes of the spaces. Let's say classroom is blue, the common areas are orange. It's up to you guys, but I want you guys to create a 3D model that you can stack, and then try to attempt to create the shapes already with the program. But at least it's somehow you are more familiar with the spaces that is required. Before you create those boxes, try to plot it already, and then try to create shapes. So it's like a sort of a form finding with colors. So wala tayong exterior, guys, just the program that you will stack together. So try to imagine Jenga. Wait lang, let me just show you something. So just using cardboard, no? Try to imagine, kasi I bought this Jenga with different colors in book. What's that cheap bookstore? Book sale. Book sale. And then I saw maybe I can use it for my projects, etc. But I haven't used it for any. Not yet, no? So try to imagine the colors represent different zones, different uses, etc. And then you stack them. So make sure that the size that you represent the size already. So it's a study of sizes. And if you can already shape the different programs per level, then at least somehow you're helping yourself inform the kind of expression that you want to have. Because somehow if there's a classroom, then maybe there's a balcony, then you shape it, no? So that's our goal for next week, playing with shapes, no? So again, don't fall in love. Kasi the moment you get, don't fall, if you fall in love right away with the existing scheme, you might get too OC, you might get too attached, and then you might take time. I want you guys to have fun, although keeping in mind the requirements that are expected with the project. Any questions, guys? Next week will be face to face.
Sir, Sintra lang po yung material?
Actually, I'm not limiting it to Sintra, but
Okay,
definitely for the final outcome later on down the road for the exhibition, Sir Gerry will set the actual material because he's the curator. And I'm sure. Wait, I think maybe it's a good question. Maybe we guys can agree. What is the best material for it that you can easily color with the ano? Kasi if this is done well, it needs to be included in the exhibition, the process that it took for you guys. So you guys talk about it, okay? Use the GC to collaborate on the colors and then also the material as well. Yeah. I'll indicate the scale later. Okay, other questions, guys?
Sir, just to clarify, so for this next iteration activity po, we have to already connect our space programming to Hi-Fi na rin po, or it's up to us?
It is a suggestion. It's up to you. It's an idea. It's how you make you're operating as a company. So in a way, I'm not saying it's competition, but somehow you're bidding for the project and what makes your idea better. If I'm a LaSalle brother, how would you court me to like your proposal? And that's one of those ideas that is, I think, favorable.
All right, thank you po, sir.
Okay, so good job, everyone. I'm very happy with the output today. Wala bumagsak. So I think I promised the grade consultation, but I'll probably just do it during midterm para hindi siya sabog, etc. Okay, so I'll see you guys next week face to face. Make sure you have the model because we will invite Sir Gerry to join us with the critique. Okay, so it will be an exciting term for me. It's exciting for me, and I hope it also shows that I'm excited for you guys for this project. Okay. All right. Joshua Hermosa.
Sir, may Dropbox po ba for this submission?
I'll make a Dropbox. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay, sir. Thank you po.
Okay. What else, guys? Questions?
None before now.
Okay, I will connect you to BN or whoever is reliable in the 3D printing world so that somehow you can get to know the process, right? Because there's a process that you need to learn. Joshua, Rania, and Robbie are familiar with it already. Kayo ba undercooks ba nagkaroon kayo ng ganyang process? 3D printing or all manual?
Meron din po, pero I think not as extensive nung kina Robbie last term po yata.
Okay. Din ma-extensive yung kanila eh. Gumawa sila ng site eh. Extensive, the one like 2 terms before you. Yung nag-exhibit kay did you witness that? Shit, I forgot the name. Did you witness that exhibition?
Yes, sir. Kay Abdul something.
Imaw. Yeah, sorry, it's in tip of my tongue. But yeah, so imagine guys, you'll be co-exhibiting with alongside the national artist. So it's a big opportunity for you. So it's a bit costly, but it's a portfolio material. You can bring home the model unless Sir Gerry asks for him to display it. Okay? Sige. Anyway, you can message me anytime. For as long as I'll be able to answer right away. But I guess that's it. Thank you guys and wait for my announcement in Big Sky. Bye guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Salamat po.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you so much, sir.